Happy holidays from the Badass Records podcast.
As I tend to mention, I nerd out about numbers and language and so on and so forth. And here in the 90s, it's easy to get excited about any association with the number. So for episode 95 of Badass Records podcast, there's a lot of places I could go. Chris Jones, who is one might argue the most valuable player on the Chiefs, defensively speaking. 95 also saw a fun run of Fish shows in the fall of 95. It's a handsome round number, and it's, as most of the most recent ones have been, one step closer to 100.
Yeah.
So a lot of reasons to be excited about it, but none more so than the presence of yourself.
Oh my God, thank you.
What are you on the government document? What is listed as last name?
Fuller.
Okay, so
that is technically my last name.
Is that
legally?
Is that your homeboy's last name, or is it BD 1 or 2?
BD number 2.
Okay. Yeah. It's funny to see your name on the Facebooks because there is no last name.
I know, I took it off.
And I have always referred to you by your mother's last name.
I know.
Which you have not always loved.
No.
But it's a fun word to, you can put it in as a verb and look cute.
Yep.
But nevertheless, Sophia Marianne.
Yeah.
Fresh in from St. Louis, fresh off the road from a therapy appointment.
Yeah.
And you look great.
Thank
you don't 3.5, 4 hours for me these days, and I'm have a kink or need to lay down for a sec.
I did have to stop once, but then I just powered through.
Okay,
just power through.
For gas or pee or to refresh.
The bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be. It's a funny drive. It can be the easiest drive, and it can be the most annoying drive too, especially if you get yourself in some of these pockets where it's a little windy and there's lots of trucks and everything just feels. Well, how often? When's the last time you were here?
Though. Several years ago.
Several.
I would say, I think I was in dental assisting school the last time I came.
Okay. And what was the occasion?
I think my friend and I just decided to take a weekend just to go get away from school and get away from responsibilities. And I think we got a hotel room. There's a amusement park.
Worlds of Fun?
Yeah.
Okay.
We went there.
Did you really?
We went there like all day for like 2 days in a row.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was this because you didn't hit everything that you wanted to hit the first day? Or
we were just having fun.
Did some repeats?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dental assisting school was really stressful, so we were just trying to get through.
Why?
It was an accelerated program.
Meaning you're cramming it in a shorter amount of time?
Yeah, so every class was 5 weeks long. And so like my second day I had a test.
On what?
Tooth numbers.
That you were supposed to learn the previous day?
Yes.
And was that how the pace of the whole program was? No,
yeah.
Thanks.
It was hard. I graduated with a 4.0.
Hey. Very nice.
Yep.
That's great. And what was that, like a 2-year thing?
It was, I think it was like 10 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you've been in that business
since 2016.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate you being here.
Of course.
I know I sent you clips so that there's proof out there in the world, but the idea for this series, which I'm calling Becoming a Swifty, and it's got a Y on the end of it, which I know.
They'll come for you.
I know. So strangely, I had a chiropractor appointment this morning, and my chiropractor's like, he's a really cool dude. He's got two massage therapists that work there, and then an office. They're all really cool people.
Yeah.
And I kind of turned him on to a couple podcasts, like stand-up comedy-based podcasts, a couple of years ago, maybe longer. And so for a while, it was like we were both into those shows enough that we were pretty current. And and historically, I've been there like monthly, so we can, there's always something fresh to catch up on content-wise. And so, like a number of people, and I get it. It's just, this is, start something like this, you don't know what you don't know. There's a lot of things that you're gonna be like, oh shit, I never considered that.
Big learning curve.
One of them is people that are just absolute hard nose. Like, hey, and they're like, no. And it's like, oh, damn. Like, was there another thing I upset you about? And that's why you're answering. And then there's people that, like, when you present it, like, they don't know that it's a thing. And they're like, oh, yeah. And you're like, do you want to? Yeah, man, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
And then when it's time to, like, iron all, they're like,
kind of flaky. Yeah.
Or just complete, almost ghosty.
Yeah.
He was like, yes. And we picked a date, and he gave me some records, and I think he had some sick kids or something going on. And he's like, I still want to do it though. We'll circle back, blah, blah, blah. And so, like, we didn't talk about that really for a few visits. We'd still talk about our other shit. And it's kind of like, you kind of have to, like, let people, you keep needling them.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be like, fuck you. Now I'm really not going to do, you know what I'm saying? I just noticed your hoodie. That's great.
Yeah.
You haven't seen her, have you?
Like on the Eras tour?
Ever.
I've actually never been able to see her in concert.
Okay. We'll put a pin in that, but I just needed to ask because I meant to put it in my notes and I forgot, I think. Anyway, so every once in a while when I'm in, he'll be like, how's the pod? And I'm like, it's good.
Yeah.
And he hasn't asked in a good long while. And today he asked, and I was like, man, I'm getting kind of close to 100. And as a matter of fact, I have a buddy coming in to do one tonight, and told him all about it. And he was immediately just like, and I was like, what? And he's like, I've got some people that you should ask. Like, they would die. And I was like, really? So he mentioned somebody by name, and by the time I was home, he had sent me a screenshot of a text exchange between him and this girl. And then he sent me her number, and then we started texting, and somewhere in the mix, the singular version of the word was used. And I was like, God damn it, I'm fucking the only person. The only person. But it just doesn't make sense. Because,
it doesn't have to.
Well, if I, like, have this sort of obsession with language and numbers and things.
Yeah.
So, for example, like, I don't spell homie, Homie, because that looks weird to me. I spell it EY.
You just trying to be different.
I'm not. I swear to God, I'm not. It just, I think that this is the correct,
Yeah.
It's somebody could be like 2 + 2 is 4, and I'd be like, but 5
just really
looks
seems right.
And they're like, cool. Anyway.
Logic.
So I've been thinking about this for some time. And it really, I think, is at its ultimate origin goes back to being a girl dad, and probably 2016 ish, somewhere in there, which would make her 6 or 7. Was when some of her tunes and some other artists. Double representing. Nice. Very nice. She was part of sort of a swath, like Party in the USA. Who's that? Is that Miley?
Miley Cyrus.
And then there was probably a Rihanna song and a Beyonce. I mean, there was some
Katy Perry. Yeah.
Kate, that was first and foremost. Loved her Firework and the Tiger Roar one.
Yeah, Roar.
Yeah,
Is that what it's called?
and then
Yeah.
she like right when she was really, really digging her, and like, you know, it's one of the only CDs that she probably doesn't even know that she owns it anymore at this point.
Yeah.
But like right at the height of that, she did the halftime show of the Super Bowl and was like, I mean, doing one of these things where you go like that and there's a new outfit, you know, like a bunch of different times. And so that was the first, like, you know, visual association with the songs. And of course we watched a couple of YouTube. Anyway, Taylor just winds up in that mix somehow. And then, speaking of St. Louis, Nikki Glazer.
She's a comedian, right?
Yeah. I used to be a bigger fan than I am now. I just, sometimes your tastes change is all I can really say about it. But she's from St. Louis, and she was sort of interwoven with some of the podcast stuff I was watching. And she started talking about, like, Lover just come out, or maybe You Need to Calm Down came out as a single first.
Yeah, so that came out as a single before she dropped Lover.
So I was like, what? And then I went and listened to it, and I was like, dude, that shit
power of Taylor Swift
slaps. And ever since then, it's just kind of been very slowly. Fast forward to now, it's like, I mean, very recently did I discover the level of fandom, and I've not even really lifted the lid. It's just you
probably haven't even scratched the surface.
That's what I mean. You can't get out of the way of all of it.
Yeah,
like there's no way, you know. Actually, the last guest, whose episode will be out this Thursday, lived in Germany twice, lives here now. And when I brought up the Chiefs game in Frankfurt, no clue. He had no idea. And I was like,
can't relate.
Well, you know, it's just sports are not on anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, I get that, but perhaps bigger news than that was that I think it was the first game that she was not going to be at in like a stretch of 2 or 3 games, and people were, anyway. And he was like, no, I had no idea. I'm like, okay, that's freaking crazy. Anyway, so I'm just, you know, on the first little flight of stairs.
Are you a full-blown Swiftie?
Well, I mean, what are the criteria?
I'm not really sure.
Okay, then yeah. I mean, I don't hide I dig her a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I needed to brush up on a couple today, and some things happened to change the course of the day. One being my last family member that was still in town was like, oh my God, I just realized that, like, I parked at the airport. And so she had to change her flight, and you know, she's got to, you know, now she doesn't have all of the rest of her people left, and took the rental car back. And so she's like, now I had to change my flight. I got to take an Uber to the airport and then pay. And I was like, I'll give you a ride to the airport. Yeah. So it's like but she might be she's around your age. But I don't have any reason to believe that she would be. I think she's maybe a little harder than. I mean, she's got like, she's an interesting gal. I love her to death.
She could maybe be a Reputation girly.
Well, so point being is, I listened to one record en route to pick her up, and then when she got in the car, I put something else on. Yeah. Just because I didn't want to have the conversation, you know. Yeah. Being, you know. Yeah. And then as soon as she was out, I was like, right back. But
I would say that's Swifty.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting part of the idea, at least, of this series, is to examine or just consider the two different levels of Swiftiness.
Yeah.
So you, I think, were conceived at Syracuse University. Is that correct?
I have no idea where I was conceived.
I think, well, okay, so here's what I think.
Yeah.
I think that both of your folks did high school or / grew up in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And went to Syracuse. That's what I think.
Yeah.
In New York and met and then the path of attending school at Syracuse abruptly changed for both, and they came back.
Yeah.
And tried to, I don't know what they tried to do.
They tried to make it work.
Right.
Yeah. They were never married.
Right.
Or anything. Yeah.
And so I land in school with your dad in the fall of '95.
Mm-hmm.
And we were pretty fast friends. I'm not sure if it was. I feel like maybe it was the following. I don't know. But at some point, and we did not do much of anything but play Sega hockey and listen to music and pull tubes. I mean,
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
we did a lot of those three things at
Yeah.
the same time. For many days, or weeks, whatever. And I don't remember how much time, but some time went by and I was like, you have a what? Cause I would, so if, I guess maybe I'm right at 21.
Okay.
So I haven't really known any people in my life up to that point that are my same age that have
Children.
become
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
Mind blown.
well, so, and then I'm like, where is she?
Where the fuck is she?
Yeah. And then, well, I'm like, what do you mean? Well,
Yeah.
and there were immediate red flags.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there was some, I know that there was some level of admiration. I don't know, there was, I'm living, so I do a semester at Pittsburgh State down in Kansas, and then I come out to Estes Park for the summer and take a year off so I can get residence in-state classification. And everywhere I go, I'm meeting and I'm hanging out with cool people. Mm-hmm. And I start school and I am like, shit, this is what I want, the way I wanted it to go. It's going that way, and I should be happy. But I was like, oh,
Yeah.
So I quickly went to the newspaper office because I was on newspaper staff in high school, which is where I met him. Mm-hmm. And knowledge of hockey, knowledge of music, being sort of from the same, state. Mm-hmm. In a band,
Yeah.
playing, it was like, oh, that's what
Yeah.
has his shit together. And then it was like, wait,
No, he doesn't.
I couldn't. I wish I could remember how much time had passed, but I remember being a little bit alarmed that however much time had passed that I didn't know that. And
Yeah.
and then it was like we're still hanging out with the same level of frequency and little to no mentions, okay.
Of me.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think the times that you would come up, I'm like, how's that kid here?
Yeah.
Oh, and then, oh, she's coming for a summer.
Mm-hmm.
And you came and stayed for a summer. I don't remember if it wound up being a whole summer. I think that was probably the summer that we all were at the same Fish shows at Red Rocks.
Yeah.
Maybe probably 96. I think it
Mm-hmm.
was 96.
Okay, so I would have been 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, man, obviously a big pocket of time in between. Well, I'm not sure how big of a pocket of time, but from that summer to whenever it was, he got married.
Yeah. To Angela.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And then, not a whole lot of interaction again. And then here we are. I get the two confused, whether it was Arizona or New Mexico.
New Mexico first. Yeah.
Okay. And then, like, literally, you both are gone. And, I mean, and this fucking shit was just getting started for you.
Oh, yeah.
I say all of that to say, I am, this is not the first time that I've found myself, very, very impressed that you turned out as good as you did.
I get that a lot.
I mean, it's like no joke, man. I mean, I think lots of folks lack courage, research, whatever it may be, to deal with much less than that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
so, it's a total complete trip that you're sitting here. So I have this idea for, like, I'm gonna part of the thing will be you'll get some Swifties on. I'll call it a series, and I told that dude in that interview in July or whenever that was, but it had been an idea for a handful of months before he and I even connected. Never in a million years would I have suspected that the thing would get off the ground with you sitting there in the chair.
I know.
It's really awesome. I mean,
life is full circle.
I know, right? And I do love at some point you said, this might be, how did you say it? Something about the biggest flex to date.
Oh, yeah. I told everybody at work, like, I won't forget you all when I'm famous.
But to travel to do this is, and I told you mine, which has happened since, which was, I took a 7 a.m. I took all of this 7 a.m. flight to JFK.
Oh my gosh.
On a Saturday morning. Actually, I stupidly attended a late comedy show Friday night. So I was on very little sleep.
Yeah.
But took a 7 a.m. to JFK. Ubered to this dude's tattoo parlor.
Oh.
Set up all of the stuff.
Yeah.
Recorded an episode with him. Broke it all down. Ubered back to JFK and flew home.
Flew out.
And was back in KC by 9 p.m. I was home by 10. And it was insane. Like, my back is still fucked up from just Ubers and planes. And
yeah.
I book a flight and there's a time change. Like, I always think that the arrival time is not going to take into factor that the time has changed. So I don't know why I'm like,
in my head every time.
So I told this dude, my flight lands at 11:30. He's like, JFK's 20 minutes from my place. So we'll meet there at noon. And so I literally had a suitcase and a backpack full of gear and just the clothes I was wearing.
Yeah.
So I get off the plane and I was like, I get an Uber and I'm like, 10:20? Oh no. So I text, he's one of these like not quick.
Yeah.
On the so I literally went and sat in a hard plastic chair and kind of slept like that for just holding my phone.
Yeah.
Hoping the buzz would wake me up.
You up, yeah.
And it was fun. It was an interesting thing to do. He has this whole place and, published books that you can get on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And I cross paths with him because of this podcast guest thing that I subscribe to. And he looks legit, and his story was like his IG bio.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God, this guy's fascinating.
Yeah.
I should have called him. Because he's got a mouthful of metal, which makes some of his words a little inaudible. And I was like, fuck. Like, when I got there, I was like, are you
good?
No, are you the actual guy? Like, oh no. And he, like everybody at the tattoo parlor was surprised to see him.
Wow.
And, like, I'm setting up and they're like, so what do we owe the... And he's like, oh, some guy's interviewing me for what? I don't know, some podcast. And then he posted about it on Instagram, and some guy flew in from Indiana to interview me, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what?
Indiana?
Yeah, and then he did it again, and he didn't tag me, he didn't, no link, no, and he's got like like he has a podcast. He has numbers and success all around him. But
He must have forgotten where he came from.
well, I don't know. Nevertheless, so we covered a little bit of that background. I also don't suppose I ever considered the possibility that you would become a parent yourself, let alone have more kids than I do.
Yeah. Cranked him out.
Yeah. So 10.
Oliver's 10, Henry is 6, and Ivy is 3.
Ivy's 3.
3 going on 13.
Yeah.
Pray for me.
Yeah. Mine is, it's not, I don't, probably could have been avoided. But, she thinks that, the things that she likes are like, she should just have them. And I'm talking, and none of them are like affordable. Lululemon, Starbucks all the time, Aviator Nation. I mean, everything it's always just top shelf.
The older they get, the more expensive Christmas becomes, and birthdays.
Yeah.
I mean, because they want an Apple Watch. They want a phone. I'm like,
Yeah.
Go back to
I know.
when I grew up. I got clothes, a couple toys.
And I and I remember very well going different places on Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
She got all these subsections of family, and it's like you're like just super jazzed because it's like double and triple the presents.
Yeah.
Like everybody wants to buy you a gift, and so and then as time wears on a little bit, you're like, I don't, if I got 20 presents, I like 1.5 of them.
Exactly.
And and that's a terrible. First of all, it ruins Christmas a little bit, or lessens your annual excitement for it. Second of all, it's not a good feeling. You feel like a shitty person.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I've approached it from every angle. And last year she had expensive things and cheap things and medium. Like she actually titled her Christmas list that way.
That's such a girl thing to do.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like 40 things, and I was just like, dude, like,
be realistic.
Where's your actual list?
Yeah.
Nobody. And she's like, well, I should get all this, and there was some upset and some disappointment, and this year I was like, man, like $25, set your bar there.
Yeah,
like the value of if nobody's going to get you, a $89 pair of pants from Lulu. They're just not. Like, maybe your mom and I will, but you're not going to get much more. I mean, and it's just, she's like, but that's what I like. And I'm like, it just doesn't work that way.
No.
Like, I want to shake you.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to run through all my notes here. I can't thank you enough. This is really cool.
I know. I'm so
and
excited.
again, I know that things aren't always super, super easy, but like if you should have some level of pride for who you are now and where you are today. I know it's a goofy, awkward thing to talk about, but I mean, like, for real. I, was married to a therapist for, I suppose collectively we were together for the better part of 15 years.
Yeah.
And Bill Burr has a funny bit where he talks about being in relationships and relationships being you're constantly working on it. as it should be. It's
Yeah.
never just going to be, oh, there it is,
Yeah.
smooth. And he's like, well, you know what I kind of figured out what I kind of figured out lately feels like we're always working on me, and I was like, so there's this element of being involved with a therapist where it becomes tough to sort out the valid points with just like you're kind of getting some textbook therapy stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I mean, I majored in psych. So I studied it some. And as she, I went into my graduate program with creative writing, and she continued in the field, and you obviously learn things on a deeper level. And, I remember very clearly her being like, you understand, that like there's no way around the fact that divorce is trauma for children. And I was like, I suppose. I mean, that would explain a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that I ever had it. And then we were seeing a couples therapist at some point, probably too late. And then when things went sideways, I saw him by myself for a little bit. And the first time was a very sob-heavy emergency 911 call and he was like, come in at 11, because I was just a mess.
Yeah.
And he was like, you have to understand, and nobody recognizes this, nobody pays much mind to it, but this is trauma. And when we experience trauma, like a car accident, we take our bodies to the hospital and get them fixed.
Yeah.
And when we experience trauma like this, we don't fucking do anything except for just keep moving forward, trying to do life. But it fucks you up. And I think it's important to say, okay. I've talked on here a number of times of just recently feeling like I've gotten to the point where I finally unpacked everything, and I can see it.
Yeah.
On a shit like 48, almost 49 years worth of shit, and I've just now gotten to, there's that. I'm not doing anything with it. Anyway. I just hope that on your in your most challenging of moments, you can think about. You've been through some fucking shit. Now you have people that depend on you.
Yeah.
Which
that's tough.
Is a whole other thing, but so we start. I mean, we've been in and out of communication for years.
Oh yeah.
I mean, decades.
Yeah.
And we were recently, whenever our communication started back up again, I think it went for a little bit before the podcast came up.
Yeah.
And then some more time maybe went, and at some point, somebody said something about Taylor.
Yeah, I think I texted you that I asked you if you were a fan of the Chiefs.
Oh, so
and
it was that recently. That recently.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I said it seems like our circles might be merging.
Our worlds are colliding.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Yes, God. So, I mean, okay. So then we must have started talking Taylor right then.
Yeah.
And then the podcast's existence comes up.
Yeah.
And anyway, I remember at some point you're like, I'm your girl. And I
Yeah.
was like, in that pocket of, I don't want to push too hard because I still want to have a friendship and not have you just be like, fucking Blair dude would not leave me alone. But so I want to know where it all began for you. If you have some sort of like first here, where you were, what was happening in your life.
I think the moment I became like a hardcore Swiftie was, I think it was 2019, and I was going through a divorce.
Okay.
I had just split with baby daddy number 2. I was pregnant with Ivy. So I was
And Ivy
I was like 5 months pregnant, and I left. and I moved into an apartment with Oliver and Henry, and I just decided I'm just going to stay here. I'm just going to raise my kids.
So this would have been what year?
This was 2019.
2019. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was about halfway through my pregnancy I left, and I've always been like a huge like music person. It got me through really horrible times in my life. And I turned on the Reputation album.
Okay.
And that fucking album changed my fucking life.
Like
It's
you dialed it up streaming.
It is
right?
a no skip album. Yeah.
And but why did you go to it?
There was a couple songs, like her more popular songs from that album that I really liked. So I would just find myself like going back to that album. And then I started listening to the other songs and I was like, wait, what? Like this woman is so talented.
Nice.
And I just fell down the rabbit hole.
So when you made that call to I'm going here and I'm going to do, was there resistance or were you left in peace to do what you wanted to do?
When I left the marriage.
Yeah.
It was pretty, the marriage was pretty toxic, but as far as me leaving and us splitting, it was pretty mutual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now
we're like really good friends.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
it's numero uno where there's...
Yeah, where there's usually tension, yeah.
Well, that's good because you still have... Ivy's 3?
Ivy's 3.
You have so many years of logistics and
with
things.
having to deal with that.
Yeah. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And then, so Ivy was born in January, and then 2 months later, the pandemic hit.
Okay.
So I wasn't even back to work before things were starting to shut down. And I got diagnosed with postpartum depression after I had Ivy. And it rocked my world. It was really hard. I've struggled with depression, anxiety, mood swings my whole life, but like postpartum depression, like it was insane. I would just sit in my closet. I would get IV all situated and I would sit in my closet and just like cry. Just unbelievably, just gut-wrenching tears for hours.
When our firstborn came into the world, it was like fucking unbelievable. 4:30. Now, granted, she's born 12/23, so 2 days before Christmas,
Yikes.
and the days are short already.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling you, at like clockwork at 4:30 p.m. And not that I was uninvolved with the baby otherwise, but she would literally be like, here's the baby, I'm going to the bedroom. And she never said, I think for a day or two, like, hey, you need, and then it was just kind of like, she has to go do or suffer through this.
Yeah.
And, return. And so sometimes it was 2.5 hours. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it was like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And she would emerge, typically no more rested than when she went in there, because while she would sleep for part of the time, a lot of the time she was crying.
Yeah.
So it was like, even if she replenished, she's depleting,
just as quickly.
I was like,
yeah.
Say that to say, we had a midwife for both.
Mm-hmm.
Both kids were water births. The first was at a hospital in a midwife suite. Mm-hmm. The second he was born here.
Oh, cool.
But both times we dehydrated and encapsulated the placenta. Mm-hmm. And it's like we still have pills from both, but we've also had taken a pill and had tinctures made.
Okay.
That, like, if they have the sniffles,
Yeah.
So the cell was, it will help mom with postpartum. Mm-hmm. It will help mom with menopause. It will help baby girl when she first gets her cycle. Mm-hmm. And so we're like, hey, and so, I mean, she was eating that, like, regularly.
Yeah.
And I think it helped. But it looked rough.
Oh yeah, it's rough. It's not
in
fun.
your closet, huh?
Yeah, I would just sit in my closet and cry until, because I didn't want to wake her up. I didn't want to see my other kids see me cry. I just wanted to be alone. And I knew, excuse me, I knew the first day after she was born that something was different. What
do you mean?
I was so in love with her. I was so happy, but inside I felt so empty. And I just...
This did not happen with babies 1 and 2?
No.
At all?
No.
Whoa.
No.
I bet it'll rock your world.
Yeah. And I also had a difficult pregnancy with Ivy. I was in and out of the hospital a lot. And, the separation was hard and stressful.
Sure.
So it kind of doesn't surprise me that I had it after her.
Who do you have left for support at that time?
I had close friends.
Okay.
And then my Aunt Nancy, of course. She came from Nashville to St. Louis just to be in the room with me while I was in labor and giving birth. So she was there when Ivy was born.
Okay. Man. Again, that relationship has seen a lot of twists and turns into the fact that you guys are...
We're really close now.
And yeah, you could point to a couple spots on the timeline where you probably would say,
Yeah. When I lived with her, things weren't that great.
Right.
Yeah.
Many moons ago, though.
Yeah. But since then, we've slowly built a really good, strong relationship.
Good.
She's if anybody, she's my mom.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And she has 2 that are older.
She has 3 daughters.
Okay.
2 have graduated college. Her youngest is in college now.
Okay. Yeah. And her husband is... Are you guys cool too?
Oh yeah, he's
cool.
Great.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. So 2019, you put on Reputation.
Fell in love with that album, started going down the rabbit hole. When Ivy was born, her song Never Grow Up. I would hold Ivy and we would dance to that song. And I just farther and farther down the rabbit hole I went.
Well, let's just go back to the beginning then.
Okay.
Because I'm assuming you've covered and consumed it all at this point.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So, self-titled, 2006, 11 tracks, 40 minutes. Where along your rabbit hole journey did you dig into this one?
Let's see. I think there's 3 or 4 songs on this album that I'm not super into.
Okay.
But for the most part, I know all of them.
Right. But when you go down the rabbit hole, you said with Reputation was where you started in 2019.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So where did you go next?
1989.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why'd you pick that one?
I kind of went all over the place. Because it was a really iconic album.
Okay, and you knew that.
And I knew that because
Okay.
I've always been a fan. Just not because I've never been super into following celebrities and knowing all the gossip. I don't care.
Right.
But then that kind of all went out the window with her.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always known she's got a lot of hits on 1989. So I was well, let me see what other music's
Right.
got. So I went to 1989 and then Red.
Okay.
Red's a good one.
Okay.
And then it was Speak Now.
Okay.
And then Debut. And then during all of that, she's dropping other music.
Yeah.
She's dropping new albums.
So I don't know. So I give at least a chunk of Lover, some attention when it comes into my orbit.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever I, some combination of I need to brush up on her stuff just because of my daughter, I want to know the songs that she's into.
Yeah.
But also for this purpose, I was okay, I have to go back to beginning and,
Yeah.
and start there. And I started here, and I knew, I should say I started like Apple Music Essentials playlist, which is 40 plus, maybe 50 plus songs, and it's like they're all really good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like, fuck, this is really good. This is not just some, dog and pony show. This is really legit good shit.
Yeah.
And so now I feel even more pressure to like know the whole catalog. And so I started here and knew a couple tunes. And once I was through it, I was doubly glad. One, because it's like first album under my belt. Second, I'm not
a fan.
I'm probably not going to go back to it too terribly often.
I don't go back to this album.
I have once, and perhaps even a third time, and I might not have stayed for the whole thing. I don't dislike it, but it's just not, it doesn't butter my bread necessarily.
And this was still when she was kind of
country.
doing the country
thing.
Yeah.
Which was a thing I had to learn.
Yeah.
But this is the beginning of, you talk about dropping and dropping and dropping. It's 2 years later, Fearless.
Yep.
2008, 13 tracks, 53 minutes. I'm curious about your feelings on this one, and if there's even any reason to compare, debut and this one side by side. Like, have you ever looked at the leap?
Fearless is infinitely better than
because
her debut. I think that her debut album, she's just dipping her toes in.
Sure.
So by the time she got to Fearless, I think she was maybe getting her groove more.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's definitely a step away from the sort of country feel, and it's like
love songs.
Yes, but also kind of like an eyebrow raiser in terms of it's almost like the potential for what she would become was almost like palpable. Like it was like, oh man, this is, and this is retrospectively speaking. This is me recently.
Yeah.
Starting at the beginning and moving to this one, it's like, this is I can see.
Yeah.
Sort of the
progression.
Yeah. Any favorites?
Geez, I like Hey Steven just because my boyfriend's name is Steven.
I thought about that when I wrote that down.
Fearless is a really good song.
Yes.
It makes me kind of just feel like I can do anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. And 2 more years forward, 2010. Speak Now. 14.
Are you noticing a pattern?
Yeah. Well, I didn't think it was going to deviate until it did.
It didn't deviate until it did.
Right. But I'm actually have a note. Super impressive in that. Most bands or artists, most entertainers in the music industry, like if you get to the spot where you want to put out an album and you work towards putting out an album, some people don't even make it to putting the album out.
Yeah.
Maybe you record an EP or something, and you got like 100 cassettes printed and you hand them out for free, and that's kind of the end of it.
Yeah.
So when somebody makes a record and it's successful enough for it to warrant a second, what do we oftentimes call it? The sophomore slump. Like somebody, band X, and it's got, let's say it's got 2 singles and then, a fan favorite or 2.
Yeah.
And so that generates interest in new fans.
Yeah.
And then second record comes out and oftentimes it's a stinker.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that can be it for that band.
Yeah. Not her.
But
She just gets better and better
Right?
and better.
So 2006 debut, 2008 Fearless, 2010 Speak Now, another 24-month span. It feels like this one gets talked about a little bit less. Is that?
Yeah. And I don't understand why she herself glossed over Speak Now when she re-released her version, Taylor's version.
Glossed over how?
Because so when she went into, we call it the era. So she...
What is that?
Okay, so she's got each
Like, how do you...
each album is a specific era.
Oh, really?
In terms of the way she dresses, in terms of the types of songs, the vibe. She makes it her whole personality.
Okay.
Like when Reputation came out, like she was always in black. She always had a black manicure. Snakes were big, like on her Instagram and her Twitter. The snake emoji was used a lot, like in the fandom.
Huh.
Yeah. So when she re-released Speak Now, it seems like it was like a couple months later than 1989 dropped.
Huh.
So
okay.
it just kind of it didn't get a very
not
big
much
chunk of
limelight.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before and I can't figure it out because it's a good album.
Yeah, it is a good album.
Yeah.
So if each album is an era, then why was this last tour the Eras tour? Like I always thought, like why isn't this the Midnight's tour? That's the album you're touring in support of if you're a traditional.
Right.
But why?
She definitely did deviate. She stopped touring, I guess, around COVID, I guess, right? And once she started re-recording all of her albums and dropping those, I think it just kind of spiraled from there. And she just wanted to make it like all of her albums she wanted to give. Because it had been so long since she had performed.
Right.
And so I think she just wanted a chance to like perform all of these songs that she had just re-recorded.
So, she was just on this big tour here.
I know.
Over the summer, right?
Yeah.
It was, months.
Try to get tickets.
Months in advance, people are talking about. I haven't heard people talk about an approaching on sale date since I was like in high school. Like, and not tomorrow, like in 2 months, in 3 months, they're going to go on sale. And it was like, this is great. And then when it happened,
it was insanity.
I saw people like, like IG reels or what content, somebody's like on their belly in the backyard trying to get tickets on their phone.
Yeah.
Fuck! And the phone bounces and goes in the pool.
Oh my god.
Like there was a series of where people
Yeah.
are like being unsick, and then like something breaks, or they break something, or they cry.
Yeah. I wanted to cry. I was on Ticketmaster. I was in the queue for like 6 or 7 hours trying to get tickets to like 3 different shows, and I couldn't get past the queue.
The little man walking.
Yep. Couldn't get past it.
So what? The few times that I've done that for Fish shows, and I mean it's like they're gone. Their bots they're gone, and then here they are for triple on
on
whatever.
StubHub or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but this is like 20, maybe 40 minutes of frustration being in the queue, but I'm not really doing anything else because I'm watching it. So how in the world does one...
I was at work, and in our break room, we have a computer, and so I hope my boss is not listening to this. So I just had like Ticketmaster pulled up.
Sure.
And I would see a patient, and then anytime I could step away, I would just like run to the break room and like see where I was at, and like nothing.
So you're getting your responsibilities taken care of.
Yeah.
You're not neglecting things.
No, not at all.
But it's occupying some bandwidth, like for a
Hell,
whole
yeah.
day of work, and
Yeah.
at the end of it, frustration.
Yeah, and I would have stayed and tried longer, but I had an appointment that I had to go to, so I was like, fuck, that's it, I'm not going.
And then I don't know about you, but I mean, a week or so leading up, I started seeing people on Facebook being like, please, I'll do anything. And the opposite, like, PM me, I've got something, and then you never see it's all behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think there was no shortage of people paying.
Thousands.
I think they were like started off listed. They were not
at a
cheap.
reasonable. Yeah, no, they were a reasonable price when I saw prices.
What were they?
Maybe for a nosebleed, it was under $100.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So it wasn't like totally unreasonable. And like me and my cousins, we had a set amount in our head that like this is how much we're going to spend on tickets. And I couldn't even.
Are these Nancy's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They're all three into it too, or
not so
no?
much her youngest daughter, but yeah, her
Cool.
older two for sure.
I just remember seeing. This is going back 3 or 4 years ago, at least. Like $4,000. Not necessarily front row, but frontish area for Adele in Vegas, and it's like are there that many people in the world that will be like, yeah, I can do that, or I will do that.
Adele, yeah.
Like that's not doable. Like on any,
I don't know how these people are paying for these tickets, the amount that they are paying.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like something like my entire life would have to pivot in an unforeseen way for me to even be like, I'll think about that.
Yeah.
It's just not anyway. I'm glad that you were seeing, but at the end of the day, when the date was approaching, I mean, there were big dollars going.
Oh, thousands of dollars.
Yeah. And then the strangest thing happened. And maybe it's because I was already sort of a fan or of this mentality, but I mean, I think her shows here were Friday, Saturday at Arrowhead. And I swear to God, like the whole week felt like the city was glowing. I'm not even kidding. Like, like the bar I mentioned, maybe grabbing a bite at later. Yeah. I think my kids and I ate there early in the evening, the Friday night, and it was dead. And it was like, this is weird. And people kept just saying, well, I mean, Taylor Swift's in town, Taylor Swift show tonight, blah, blah, blah. And it just was felt everywhere. And I was like, I don't think that I've ever had that experience, and I've been relatively in some form connected to the music scene, like just at a base level aware of most things that are going on. And just, the most I've ever felt it is being at a bar on a weekend night, like 10, 11, 12, and folks are coming to the bar from a show.
Yeah.
And there's like 3 or 4 folks that were at the show, or maybe there's 2 groups, and it's like this buzz, but this was like much larger and almost immeasurable.
Oh, yeah.
And then for days afterwards, people were talking about, the amount of money that was like, because people are going out. People we're meeting such and such place before, and then we're going to blah, blah, blah after. And
they're traveling, so they're getting hotels.
Yep.
They're getting plane tickets, Ubers. I mean, the outfits, you got to make sure your outfit is on.
Oh my
point.
God. So Friday, Saturday shows, there was I think I learned this after the fact. Thursday was a whole day where you could just go out to the Truman Sports Complex where the venue is, and they had trailers full of merch.
That's dope.
And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
This is not like grabbing a t-shirt on your way in or on your way out. It's a whole other day where they have
it's a whole separate event.
Things.
Yeah.
Like multiple tractor trailers.
Yeah.
And then a setup.
Yeah.
And, gotta just wild.
It is.
So where were we? So she glossed over it even because she dropped the one that followed.
Yeah,
soon
1989 was much anticipated.
Yeah, but I mentioned that I thought Speak Now was talked about less than others, and you said even she. Because so she dropped this and then
she didn't, because she's not dropping her re-records in order.
So this is 2010, but what follows this is Reade, right?
Yeah.
2012. Mm-hmm. 16 tracks, 65 minutes. So I had you on the gloss over point, but then I lost you. What?
So now that she's re-recording her albums and she's not doing it in order that she dropped them originally.
She did 2 in 2020 and then 2 this year, right? Is that?
Yeah, 2020 was Folklore and Evermore.
Okay.
And then Midnights was her next album that was not a re-record.
Let's see here. Fearless and Reade in 2021 and Speak Now and 1989 this year.
Yes.
So, okay, so that's what you're saying. The re-record of 89 came on the heels of the re-record of this.
Speak Now,
so
yeah.
it kind of got less limelight.
Yeah.
Now, why... Okay, so let's just pause and talk about the re-records.
Okay.
The smallest base level of understanding I have is that Label X, who she was originally signed with,
Scooter Braun, yeah.
yes, owns the rights. No, owns the masters.
Yeah.
And she offered to purchase them,
Correct.
and he said no, or they said no.
And then
so
went behind her back and sold them to the highest bidder, basically.
I didn't
So
catch
she was
that
like,
part.
Yeah, so she was like, and then I think it was Kelly Clarkson who basically, like, I don't know if she tweeted this, but she just basically said, like, girl, just re-record your albums. And Taylor was like, watch, hold my beer.
Right.
I will.
So highest bidder, I'm assuming, offered more than she offered.
I'm not too familiar. Yeah.
Either way, it's a snaky.
It was very much like not cool. Because all she wanted to do was own her music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So him or them owning the masters, I mean, she still owns the right. Like, I mean, it's still they're her songs, right? So she can't get the masters back, but she has the right to do with the material
Yeah.
what she wants. So that guy, she can go do this re-record thing, and he can go fuck himself. He can't get in on any of that action,
No,
right?
she completely owns all her music.
And
Now.
You were on my case a little bit because the 1989 came out a handful of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And it's got additional tracks.
Yeah, the vault tracks.
And then some, like, they're not all necessarily identical, the stuff that was already released that she's re-releasing. Like, there's some lyrical changes or a couple little
and like
tiny...
the music is a little bit different as well.
But still, it feels like the same...
yeah. I think at least.
So you were jazzed for this 1989 TV to happen, and then it happened, and immediately you were even more jazzed than you were. Like, it was scratching all your itches.
It was like listening to 1989 for the first time.
Really?
Again.
Wow.
Yeah. Because it was so fun to go through every song and be like, okay, what's different?
Oh,
or
I see.
How is
I
this?
see.
Yeah.
And so when one searches for her music for the first time on whatever device you're using, even though stream plays you hear generate pennies for the artist, even though that's the case, and obviously the higher the volume, the higher the royalty money or the earnings. But if you exclusively choose the material that says Taylor's version in parentheses, none of that revenue is going to that original clown. It all is going
to her
where it should, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I know that not everybody's going to care about that, but I think it's worth mentioning because some folks will.
Yeah.
Some folks are like, yeah, this is absolutely, it should go here instead of here. So I think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, definitely.
But Reade in 2012, 16 tracks, 45 minutes.
Reade
I
is
think,
not like my favorite.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
I felt like, so again, I start with debut and I'm working my way. I know 1989's coming.
Yeah.
And people have, and again, the playlist, the Apple Essentials is weird because here's 50 really good songs, but I don't, for the most part, know where they go. And I want to know, I like knowing albums, top to back. So that was a curious thing, but also like Reade got, in my mind, some chatter. Like people, there are definitely people that dig it. Mm-hmm. But I also, I thought it was good, but I also thought it's kind of sleepy.
Yeah. There's one track on Reade that I love.
Which is?
All Too Well.
All Too Well. And what is it about that one?
It's just fire.
Okay.
She's got a 10-minute version on her re-release of Reade.
Okay.
There's a 10-minute version of All Too Well. And just when you think like it couldn't get more any gut-wrenching and just good, it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And I don't get her mind.
She, I'm going to save that point for the album that it belongs to, but it's, for me to like confidently say that I know an artist's entire catalog. Not too many artists I can say that about, but the ones that I can say, like I really do, and that's, dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of hours listening. And eventually you start picking up on musical and lyrical nuances that you overlooked before. Yeah. So a lot of that is still happening for me with her stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm finding more and more often that there are things that have spilled into pop culture language that she perhaps gets credit for. Like they just arrive, how New York, all the fashion hits the East Coast, and by the time it hits the Midwest, all the people on the East Coast are like, that old thing.
Yeah.
So there's so many little things like that I think maybe she is responsible for, that by the time they're hitting my radar, it's been like common knowledge for a lot of people for a long time.
Right.
There's that, and then there's also the fact that she's very sharp. I mean, she is
so intelligent.
Yep.
Her dad is a businessman, and she gets a lot of like her business savviness from, I think, him. Because she's sharp.
Well, I can't really speak to business savvy, but one thing that is unmistakably clear is that relationships show up a lot in her writing. And people have been writing about relationships since
music was invented,
even before it was, and sort of, I don't know, did you ever give Olivia Rodrigo any energy?
She's all right.
Her first record's
better than what I've been hearing lately.
Same.
Yeah.
But Driver License and shit. There was another really, really good song on that record. Not Ironic. Anyway, so this record happens, and then there's a Netflix documentary that they put out about her.
The Miss Americana one?
Maybe. Okay. But it's like first semester, senior year of high school, and all this for Olivia Rodrigo is exploding. Okay. And she moves out. She moves out of because now she needs a home with room for 5 or 4 musicians worth of gear.
Yeah.
And so she just like, I mean, the high school thing, I'll figure that out. But this, and so a lot of that record is, she does a really good job of distilling the heartbreak that can happen in relationships. And I'm like, that's not okay for you to have that kind of wisdom at 17 or 18.
Yeah.
Like, how?
Yeah.
Like, I'm, at the time, 45, 40, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just now cobbling together a little bit of how to explain feeling X.
Yeah.
So, on a much larger scale, I mean, how old is Taylor?
She was born in 89.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So she's your age, right? Is that?
Yeah, she's 2 years older than me, so
Okay.
she's about 34.
Okay. So, we're only to 2004 still,
Yeah,
at
she's
2014.
cranking 'em out.
Well, but I mean, she's been able to articulate this way for a long time.
Yeah.
It's not just since she turned 30 or 31, and that doesn't make sense to me. Like,
she's got a talent for writing.
Yeah.
And for words.
yes, a great one. So, we talked about Reade. Yeah, and then we're to 1989, which I kind of feel like a healthy majority of fans, regardless of the depth of their fandom, pick this one as their favorite.
Oh yeah, this is like where people
Lost their shit
lost their shit.
because
I'm not sure why this album really got people going, but I mean it probably. I mean, she's got her relationship with Harry Styles that she writes about in that album, so that's automatically people are just gonna eat it up.
right, which I learned about him 18 months ago, maybe.
And then she's got her beef with Katy Perry.
Oh, what's
that
the story
inspired
there?
Bad Blood. I think Katy stole a dancer from her or something like that.
Interesting. She's not ashamed to air her shit out.
No. I mean, she's got what album Dear John is on.
Early.
I mean, it's literally about John Mayer.
I know.
She don't give a fuck.
There was, and the other thing that happened regarding her shows this summer, the people, I saw this maybe more than any of the other things. The people that had tickets, they said nothing until they're posting pictures from the show in the parking lot. And it was like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
There was, and maybe mum's the word is the approach. That way nobody is bought. You just go do your,
Yeah.
And so a couple that I'm close with went with their 2 daughters. And the dad said, and everybody was talking about the vibe, the feeling, the tailgate, the feeling inside, just this. I think most folks were like, I have never experienced anything like that before in my life. And this dad in particular said, I can't say enough about all of those things, the vibe, the tailgate. And it was like a Grateful Dead show without the drugs.
Yeah.
Meaning family, love, goodwill, just is coming off of everybody. I mean, which, and so mom, the dad had that to say, and mom had a shirt that said something like "Mom's against John Mayer" or something like that.
That's good.
And I was like, hey, I texted her, and she was like, my daughter made it, and it was either that or Jake Gyllenhaal, and I love Jake Gyllenhaal, so I said no way.
Yeah.
And I was like, but Dad and Company, John Mayer's great. She's like, yeah, I'm sure he is, but I wore it for her.
Right,
And I was like,
exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
So Harry Styles, he's just always been a musician.
He was in what is his fucking band name? One Direction.
Nuh-uh.
Is that? Yeah.
Like Christian-y kind of?
No, they were just like a boy band.
Just a boy band.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where he came from?
Yeah.
Is he American?
No, he's from the UK.
The UK.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's
I've seen him in concert. He puts on a good show.
recently.
Maybe like 2 years ago.
Okay. Post One Direction.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
Oh yeah.
And how much of his stuff did you know before?
He's got like, I want to say 3 solo albums.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And it's like so different than like the boy band stuff because I was never into that.
sure.
He went off and did his own thing, and his music it's really good.
Oh.
Yeah, you would actually be surprised.
And
He's got some good music.
Do the 3 records feel similar to one another? Are they different?
They're different. They're different.
Okay.
His debut like solo album is the most different from the rest because I think he was still trying to figure out what he liked
Yep.
and his style, and then by the time he got his other 2 out, he like was kind of figuring that out.
So Harry Styles, Jake Gyllenhaal, John Mayer.
John Mayer,
Who else?
that she's had beef with.
No. Well, relationships, I guess.
There was, what's his name? The DJ, Calvin Harris.
I don't know who that is.
She dated him. Then Joe Alwyn, of course, that was like her big.
Who's that?
He's an actor from the UK as well.
Oh, okay.
And they dated for 6 years. They broke up right before she went on tour.
This tour? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because one thing about Taylor is she will move on quickly.
Yeah. And she'll put you in her song. I mean,
she's not giving. I think she said something one time. She was being interviewed by somebody, and they were kind of cornering her, like, why do you write about this? And she's like, if people didn't want me to write these things about them, they should have behaved better.
I mean, true.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
But okay, so she has this tour this summer, and then she's off for a minute, and now she's
She's
where?
about to take another 2-month break.
But she's been touring like South America.
South America.
Just there?
Recently, yeah.
Okay.
In South America.
And then break again?
Break again for 2 months and then back up again.
And do we already know where?
Yeah, I don't personally, just because I am not going to get tickets. So,
Well, that's part of my curiosity is like, would it be easy? Is it easier to get if you like, you know what? We're going to fly to Ecuador. Is that an easier ticket to get?
no, because she doesn't typically go to those places.
Oh.
So this is like her first time. That was like her first time in Argentina and I think Brazil.
Yeah.
So
And people were going fucking banana. I mean, you saw the
crazy.
Travis clips. That's all I
Yeah.
saw was a couple little,
Yeah.
So
when she's hitting territory that she's not usually in, people go even crazier because
the people that live there.
the people that live there
So they're jamming out to her shit all these years, just like folks
just
here.
waiting for her. Yeah. Just wanting her to come. Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Huh. So we got sidetracked because we started to talk about 1989, and
Yeah.
what was the first thing that you said about this was what's on this one?
Well, she's got a lot of she's got a couple songs about Harry Styles. She's
there
got
you go.
a song about Katy Perry, Bad Blood.
Right.
She's got the song I Know Places. That's like about her trying to get away from like the paparazzi and the scrutiny. Because poor girl's been under a lot of scrutiny for a lot of years. Like
Yeah.
I feel like only within the few years it's been like cool to like Taylor Swift.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Whereas before it was like cooler to like hate on her.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I think so.
Huh. I said to my chiropractor this morning, did you see that? So we're, and we ended up texting that gal and I, and she, I think she's going to do it too. But anyway, I asked him if he had seen the footage, of when she left the suite for her first Chiefs game. Mm-hmm. And he was like, when she was in the popcorn, when people thought she was, I was like, I'm pretty sure she was.
Oh yeah, she does.
And I'm
that
pretty
frequently.
sure like that's how she has to operate. Yeah. And he was like, I I wouldn't want that. And I said, no, I know, like, the bigger the thing gets, the more cumbersome and more expensive.
Yeah.
Because now a new thing crops up, like, how do I leave a venue if I'm a patron?
Yeah.
Well, now you got to have a fucking team.
Yeah.
And some security person. I mean, and
Yeah.
I can't even.
She loves it though. She has a documentary on Netflix, I guess, Miss Americana.
Okay.
Yeah. And she talks about, how she just loves her fans. And she just wants to, like, make them happy and give them what they want.
Well, the most recent rumor here was that, like, I can't keep up, but Travis Kelce has a house here and was gonna get another one here.
Yeah,
but
so he bought us basically another house, for them to have somewhere to go, like, privately.
gated community. It's a gated community.
Yeah, exactly. Somewhere where it's just easier for them to get away from the public eye.
Yeah, I mean, which I'm sure thins it out a lot and helps a lot, but there's probably still people in that community that are like,
oh yeah,
she's home, like she's wearing a skirt, or whatever.
Right.
Like,
oh yeah.
It's not fully escapable unless you just isolate. And even then, it's a couple crazies who would trek up to your mountain cabin and
exactly.
hey, sign my hat or whatever. Okay. So, a lot of love for 1989.
Yeah. It's a good album.
And then this is where we first deviate. So we've gone every 2 years up through 89, and then Reputation drops in 17.
Yeah.
15 tracks, 55 minutes.
This is where shit pops off.
Okay, so if memory serves, this is one of two that are tops for you.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what makes this one? Why? This is where stuff pops. What is it and why?
So before this album dropped, that's when the drama with Kim Kardashian and Kanye West happened.
Between the two of them?
Yeah.
Kim and Kanye?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Kanye wanted to involve her, like, her name in a song.
So they're no longer together when this happens?
When this happens, Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, I think, were married.
Okay. Before this album drops.
Yes.
They're married, but shit's going on.
So Kanye gets Taylor on this phone, and Taylor doesn't know, but Kim's recording this conversation.
What?
Yeah. And he allegedly asks Taylor for permission to have a lyric in his song about her, like, being a bitch.
About who being a bitch?
Taylor.
He's asking her. He's asking Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Can I have a lyric in my song about you being a bitch?
Yeah. But
what a weird ask.
The video was, like, clearly edited that Kim posted, because Taylor, once the song, Kanye's song came out and she hears this lyric, Taylor's upset because she says, I was never, like, informed that was the lyric in the song. So, like, I never gave you permission to do that. And then...
But does he need her permission?
I don't know. But furthermore, he makes a music video, and it's, like, all these naked women that look like Taylor Swift.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was just... I mean, he was clearly, like, dogging on her.
Ew.
And at that time, the hate for Taylor Swift was, like, at its peak.
Why?
Because people were taking Kim and Kanye's side. Oh. So,
So when this happens, things between Kim and Kanye are fine?
Fine, yeah.
Are they still married?
No, they're not married.
Yeah, but
anymore.
when you see her name, it usually says Kim Kardashian West, doesn't it?
I think she dropped the West.
She did.
Okay. As far as I know. Okay. Yeah.
So, but at the time, they're fine, and they're in this together. Kim's recording it, and Kanye,
like, in order to defend Kanye, Kim, like, posted the video or something.
Okay.
I didn't pay too much attention to it. Just not a fan of them, but
right.
Taylor dropped from, like, the public eye for, like, a year.
Oh, really? Because of this?
Because everyone was hating so much on her, and she just felt like she didn't want
What?
nobody wanted to see her, so she
Why
said,
though?
"Fine, I'll disappear."
Why were people?
She's drama. They think she's a snake. They
Okay.
think she writes about,
People she has beef with?
Yeah, exactly. And people just didn't like that. And then she comes back and she drops this banger of an album.
Okay.
And basically just to say, like, fuck you, I'm back. And it was iconic. She deleted all her Instagram photos and started posting new pictures. And it was like one of those pictures where, something, little pictures make up one big picture.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So she was like posting all these little pictures, and once she was done, it was like a snake. And we were like, something's happening. And she dropped Reputation.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, she took what people scrutinized her for, and she made it into an album.
Nice. Well played.
And that's like one thing that she's really good at, is like she takes the things that people make fun of her for, and she turns it into, like, she will make fun of herself. Especially, she did that on 1989. Let's see, Shake It Off.
Mm-hmm.
Look What You Made Me Do. Yeah, she'll just make fun of herself. And, like, she turns everything into, like, an opportunity.
Wise.
Can't blame her.
No. So I think I've given this one 3 full listens now. And I like it a lot, but I also feel like I'm far from soaking it all in. Like it.
Yeah.
Usually I feel pretty confident after 3 listens. I think I need a
Yeah.
couple more. But one thing that I do feel pretty confident about is that I think Delicate might be the best song on the record.
That's a fucking good one.
I think there's like 4 or 5 tiny little lines in there. Like I was saying earlier, there's a sequence of lines that she runs through. Is it cool that I said, is it chill?
Cool that I said all that. Is it chill that I'm in your head? Or
Y-
you're
y-
in my head.
All of
Yeah.
them. I'm saying, like, did we all learn that by accident because of her? You know what I'm saying? Like, just very, very clever. And again, too young to be able to articulate the nuance of relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, I say too young. I'm being a little bit facetious, but I'm being a little bit serious too. Like, really wild.
Yeah.
Like, just a mind and a talent that I don't think have inhabited the same body before.
No.
When it comes to some of those. I want to pause real quick and use the restroom. Okay. So we ended off with Reputation, and I want to pause for a quick second and go back to, you said a little bit ago that music has always been a big part of your life.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. What's the origin story there?
So growing up, I was not in a good situation. My mom was very, physically, emotionally, verbally abusive.
All of them.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
It was pretty rough.
I don't know that I knew. I
Knew
don't
that? Yeah.
think that early, and I'm not really interested in dragging names through the mud, but
Yeah.
some of it's kind of unavoidable.
Yeah.
I mentioned knowledge of your existence as like a red flag.
Yeah.
Whatever, it's fine. And then over many years, up until, I don't want to say today, but until recently, there's a pattern from my perspective in which it doesn't matter, the bandmates, roommates, spouses, children, everywhere you see relationships dissolve.
Yeah.
And it's always the other person.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
so we have this recent pocket and then another 1 or 2 pockets of time where no communication for different reasons.
Yeah.
But you know, initially it was like, hey, you know, yeah, that person sucks. And then after, eventually, you start going, wait a minute. So I say all that to say, I suspect that my opinion of your mom originally, I've never even met her, you know, like, well, here's this cat that I admire. I wonder, and I'm getting fed, oh, she's crazy. She's you know, it's like, and so you sort of start to go, I bet there is something going on there, but also I can't ignore the fact that the child is with her and not you. I know that
if she's so crazy and you're so normal, where's the baby?
It would be like that, you know, where there's geographical distance and turmoil. I mean, I think more often than not, you would expect for the child to be with mom. Like if the child is with dad, you would go, I wonder what's up with mom.
Oh, yeah,
right?
100%. Where it's more, I think it's more normalized for the mom, just default parent mom.
Yep. Yeah. So there's all that. And then not much. Like those are like early opinions and observations, and then a whole pocket of nothing.
Yeah.
This is still just what I refer to.
Yeah.
And then Australia happens, and I'm like, I knew that bitch was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I fucking knew it.
Not totally.
Yeah.
He's not like totally off the hook, but I was like,
yeah,
that's fucked up.
Yeah.
So I cut in on you saying it was not a good situation.
Yeah. So it was, my mom was very, very abusive. She ended up getting married. He wasn't much better. Better, but not much. So they fought all the time. And
you're obviously aware of it?
Yeah, definitely.
And you're how old-ish?
They got married when I was 5.
Okay.
And then they divorced when I was maybe 11.
Okay.
So they were good, you know.
They were fighting for a good minute.
Yeah.
And you're aware of a lot of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, because I was 5, you know. So at that time, you kind of start to get things.
Yeah.
You may not understand them, but you know something's wrong. Things were, I have a special needs brother. My brother,
right.
Samuel, he's autistic. He has epilepsy.
Damn.
Yeah. We didn't know if he would live or die when he was born.
Oh, shit.
He was having like 12 seizures a day.
Oh, as an infant?
Up until, I can't remember when he finally had surgery. But yeah, it was for years. Like he was on a feeding tube.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So that added to a lot of the craziness of it all. So I was ignored. If I wasn't being yelled at or hit, I was just being ignored. So I retreated into my room and I would just listen to music. On my dad, actually. I remember he bought me my very first like CD player.
Okay.
Like it was a radio and a CD player as well. And I'll give him credit for this. I think he gave me my love for like music.
Yeah. I would have been surprised if that wouldn't have been.
Yeah. So he always he took me to the store. He bought me the CD player and he let me pick out like 5 or 6 different like CDs.
All in one shot?
All in one shot. I
Damn.
was like, I remember I got Aaron Carter, the Backstreet Boys.
Aaron Carter. It's not a country singer.
No, Aaron Carter? Oh my God, he's from my youth. He was his brother is Nick Carter, who is part of one of the boy bands, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, not sure. So he did his solo thing, and everyone at this time it was either Backstreet Boys or NSYNC. Which band was your favorite?
Sure.
I was like in my room listening to things that nobody my age was listening to. Matchbox 20, Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh wow.
That's the stuff that I liked. And so I would.
So when you got this radio and these 5 or 6, you already had artists that you liked, and you picked those CDs for that.
Yeah.
And is that coming from radio?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would and at the time you couldn't just like get on Google and like Google who these artists were. So I would like sit in my room for hours and listen to the radio. And I remember there was one song by Matchbox 20, that song Unwell.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy. I'm just.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that song so fucking much. So I would wait until they would cycle through and inevitably play that song again. And I would like grab a piece of paper and a pen and I would like write down the lyrics the best that I could, because I didn't have a computer. There was no Google. So
And you didn't have the CD with
we
the
didn't
lyrics.
have the CD with lyrics. So I would just write them down, and like I would just do that with every song that I loved.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was just my escape
Sure.
from reality.
Yeah.
It just felt like
Trauma.
I
mean, if any of those kinds of abuse are happening by themselves, that's trauma.
Yeah.
Times 3.
Yeah.
I mean, yo.
Yeah.
And then, of course, your siblings.
Yeah. So
not hard to see
Yeah.
the ignoring.
Yeah.
You know, that's really great. Like maybe I don't know. It seems like at this point there's either a reel that's like a collection of clips all put into one, and it captures all the commercials you used to see and the games you used to play, and you know, then there's like Facebook groups that will, you know, Gen X, we're the first to blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And a thing that comes up very often and is very true for me is waiting for them to cycle and hitting record.
Yeah.
With a tape player.
I would do that too.
And
yeah.
you hoped that you not only timed the beginning right, but that they didn't talk over the beginning of the song or the end of the song and fuck up the whole.
Yeah.
You know. So that is. I mean, I definitely remember trying to do that too, but probably for cassettes that I bought that just had the album artwork and then the song, the listing of the songs on the spine, and then the inside is just nothing.
Yeah.
So
that was the worst.
But at least I can hit stop and rewind. You're doing it live.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So gosh, how old were you, do you think, when he bought that for you?
Maybe like 8, 9,
Okay.
10, somewhere around there.
So if it's 8, then your appreciation for / love of music is probably going back to like 6. I mean, if you were like if you were aware of the radio and had songs that you liked and so forth.
Yeah. I was also a big Cher fan.
Okay.
Which was always like none of my friends liked Cher.
So, I mean, you say that and there's like when I hit whatever age where I'm loving music and like I knew, you know, basically I Got You, Babe, Sonny and Cher days.
Yeah.
And she's in Mask, the movie. Ever seen that?
I fucking love that movie.
Okay. So really just those.
Seen it 100 times.
Okay. Really just those two. Like, I know that Sonny and Cher wrote a bunch of other songs, but that's the one that you would hear.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think it's the song that plays in Groundhog Day.
I've never seen that movie.
No way. That's a great movie.
I know.
You know,
terrible.
You know
movies.
the premise.
Yeah.
So he wakes up and it's the same day.
Every day,
so
yeah.
when the alarm goes off at 6:02 or whatever, I got you. So it's like that, and then Cher from this oldies song.
Yeah.
She's in this movie.
Yeah.
And then she had a whole other career that was yet to even come. So, Life After Love.
Yeah.
Was
Believe. Yeah.
Believe, is that the name? Well, okay, but that's the first time, you know, I was like, how's she doing that with her voice? And people are like, it's a fucking thing. It's not her like,
Wait. Wait, hold on. Don't break my heart. I didn't know that.
What?
I didn't know it was
Auto-tune?
like auto-tune.
Yeah. I think.
This whole time I believed that she could really
No, you
say
did
like
not.
that.
No, you did not.
I swear on my life.
Okay. I really hope.
I'm gonna have to Google that later.
For sure. So somehow or other you've got an affinity for Cher.
Yeah.
Is it because of that tune or?
I just thought it was fun to listen to different things.
For sure.
I don't like my dad. This is like one good memory that I have, and that sounds awful, but like it would just be like anytime when we were together and we were driving in the car, he would have such a range of music.
For sure.
It could have been something like, a pop song, and then into System of a Down. And then and then it's Fiona Apple, and then it's just so and then I would find one song that I liked by that artist, so I would just stick it in my memory or like write it down if I could, and then I would just falling into the rabbit hole of a different artist, and it was so fun because it was just a way that I could just
I'm into Frank Zappa because of him. I was already into Fish when we met, but I mean, it took it to another level. There's King Crimson, Robert Fripp, like he, and
there was there's nothing that he won't listen to.
I know, and I remember, arriving at that point in life feeling like I'll go toe to toe with most anybody knowledge wise. Not that I know everything.
Yeah.
But I feel like I know more than most.
Yeah.
And I remember, having a couple of experiences where he's talking about artists or he's putting on something by an artist and, being like, he's got to be full of shit, like to some degree. And no, like I don't know how or when he was able to, consume and learn all that he learned and get to that.
Yeah.
But always remarkable.
Yeah.
In fact, when we met, I was, anytime I would meet a fish head, do you have bootlegs? And you borrow their bootlegs and you dub copies for yourself, and maybe they do the same with yours.
Yeah.
He was way past that by the time we met. Like, he wasn't into that anymore, but he still had all of his tapes.
Yeah.
And a bunch of them. And, he was very dismissive. They're in, like, he wouldn't even get, like, man, I want to see your tapes and borrow some tapes. And finally, one day he's like, all right, I don't even think he got them all. He maybe he picked, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I went home with a few, and I didn't understand, like, I understood the difference between soundboard and crowd. Because, like, for, the Grateful Dead and Fish traditionally sold sections of seats for tapers. So you bring in your gear and you set up a thing and you tape. And then soundboard stuff starts which is way, 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 way better.
Yeah.
But I never could wrap my head around, sometimes you get a tape and it would say first gen, second gen, third gen. It's like, if it's all sound, like, what is this? Well, what it is guy over here got a soundboard copy, and then this guy recorded that copy.
Okay.
So now it's second gen.
Okay.
And then it's third gen.
Yeah.
Each time it happens. And so I borrowed this collection of tapes, and, I remember being like, he doesn't even care about these. You should just give him. But he wanted them back. Like, he made no, know. And so for one of the shows, I, swapped him. Like, if he gave me a second gen and the recordings I made are now third gen, I kept the second gen tapes and put the third gen, but back in his cases. So when it goes in the thing, it's still in his, and
Did
I was
he
like,
ever find out?
yeah, of course. And I thought for sure he'll never
know.
take that tape out ever again, because he
Yeah.
doesn't care. He's on to, and he, one day we're hanging out playing hockey, and he's like, you fucking snake, you swap. And I was like, God damn. I was like, I tried to lie. I was like, no, I couldn't. And he's like, dude, don't make me go get it out. And I was like,
busted.
yeah. And I don't know if I made it right and swapped him back or whatever,
Yeah.
but I couldn't believe it. I was like, damn, fucking saw that shit, saw right through that shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, radio, then you got a CD player with some CDs, and I imagine it just keeps growing.
Growing from there. That was when I was still living, with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And we never really had money. So it was like that. What I had that was it. I didn't get to really keep adding to my collection very much. And when I was 12, almost 13, that's when I moved to New Mexico to actually officially live with my dad.
And that happens because she's like, I'm out.
She moved to Australia.
And I mean, the way that the information came to me was decided that she didn't want to be a mom anymore. And,
Yeah.
and I was like, that can't be what actually happened. That's fucking impossible.
So,
and then,
yeah.
boom, there you are. I was like, what?
Insane.
Wait, did anybody look in the basement? She's not really in Australia. You know what I'm saying? So you go to New Mexico.
Yeah, I'm living there for a few months, and I get a call one day, and it's my ex-stepdad, because they're divorced at this point.
Right.
And he's like, just wanted to let you know, your mom moved to Australia today. And that's how I found out. And I was like,
What? So you moved to New Mexico first because...
I think that she was planning to move to Australia. She didn't want to tell me. But the memories are a little hazy, but I remember seeing a psychiatrist and them like asking me where I wanted to live. And I said with my mom, because I didn't want to go live with my dad, who I'd only seen on like summers.
Right.
But ultimately, the next thing I know, I'm getting on a plane to move to New Mexico. There was really no communication with me.
So she was just like, you need to have her now, and he was like, okay.
Yeah.
Is that as you understand it?
That's how I understand it. And so I'm living there, get a call, she's gone, and then it was like, it was just a weird feeling. Like, it was like,
How
what
long
the fuck?
had you been gone before you got that phone call?
A few months, maybe.
So, I mean, is it safe to say that you're still absorbing this change?
Oh, yeah.
Not settled into
Definitely.
the brand new uprooted life?
Yeah. And I mean, and then when you think about it, I'm 12, almost 13. That's a really hard age to be as a girl growing into a woman.
Yeah.
Puberty.
Yep.
And like, you need your mom more than any time during that time. And she just said, see ya.
I mean, what did you do? Like, how did that had to be just so fucking deflating.
Oh, yeah.
And weird and
it
confusing.
Definitely like altered my brain chemistry. I was so severely depressed that like I mean that's why I got sent away when I did, because my dad was afraid that I was going to kill myself. I was very self-destructive.
I thought is this Utah?
Yeah.
I thought that happened because he was gone.
No, it was kind of two things happening at once.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've believed that to be the case until
It
right
was
now.
They were planning on sending me away long before he got arrested.
So so if we go back to 04, 05-ish,
Yeah.
AI, the instant message, what was it? It was AI, it was AIM, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes I'd be chatting with him, sometimes you.
Yeah.
But it felt like, and I think we've talked about this before, you had one buddy that you were close with, and maybe not so much anymore. But the point being, it felt like you had friends, and you were being social.
For a while, it stopped. But yeah.
So that's why I was like, at least because it was like, she has a friend over and we just ordered pizza, that kind of, and I'm like, okay, that feels
normal.
Yeah.
Seventh grade was pretty normal, I would say, as normal as it could be.
Is this your first school year with the move?
Yeah. Eighth grade started to get hard. Ninth grade is when I like fell apart.
Really?
Yeah. So, eighth grade, I started self-harming.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. So that was when things got really bad. I was self-harming. I stopped eating for a while. Lost a ton of weight.
Yikes.
And I was just generally very depressed. I mean, I would get home from school and I would just sleep until I had to get up the next day to go to school. Yeah. So like 3:30, and then I would wake up again at
Holy
like
shit.
7. Yeah.
So no homework, no sports, no activities.
Didn't care. I played volleyball 7th and 8th grade.
Okay.
And, but I just like, I didn't care.
And were your grades
They
suffering?
reflected that.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. 7th and 8th grade, at least, you know, they were always like mediocre. Cause you know, I'd say I'm smart.
Sure.
So like I was definitely capable. I just didn't try because I didn't care.
Right. Now, were you sharing with? I mean, you had to be like thinking and feeling things about like this feels fucked up. This feels sad. This feels what? Were you sharing that with friends? Were you talking to your dad?
No, I talked to nobody. Once my guidance counselor found out that I was cutting myself, my dad started like driving me to therapy once a week. But like most of the time, I would sit there for an hour and I would not talk. I wouldn't say one word.
Wow.
Because I was so traumatized that I was like, I didn't even know where to begin. I didn't even know what I was feeling. I just knew that things were fucked up.
And I mean, I can't imagine you were having very many, if any at all, conversations with people that are like, yes, you're correct. This is fucked up.
Yeah. I didn't know that anything in my life that had happened up until that point, I didn't know that none of that was like
Abnormal. Right.
Yeah. I just thought like this is just people's existence. I had no idea until I started like when I got sent away and started telling people my life story, and like people were like, "Wait, what?" And I had no idea. I just thought like this is fucking normal.
Depression
like,
is
yeah.
clearly
Yeah.
where one would land if
Yeah.
you didn't have any other perspective.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we landed here. So if it's okay, you know, so Utah is like a year.
So I was sent away. So I went to a wilderness program in Utah. And so basically we would hike, tons of group therapy, individual therapy, and more hiking. Learned how to build a fire with sticks. I could build my own shelter. I did like a 3-day solo trip. I was completely by myself. Had to build, if I wanted a fire that night, I had to figure, I had to make sure to make myself a fire. Had to cook all my food. I had nobody. I was by myself for 3 days, just like in the wilderness. It was actually pretty cool.
Yes, but
also like, what the fuck? Because I was like 15.
So was there, I mean, you are self-harming and dad starts looking around for options.
Yeah, I used it like, I was going to therapy. It wasn't making any progress. I was cutting myself worse. I was getting progressively.
At home?
Yeah, it was getting progressively more concerning.
Now, are you hiding the fact that you're doing this? Or are you doing it and then you're telling somebody?
No.
Okay.
My therapist, at some point, I would just have to show her my arms when I walked in to prove that I was not self-harming, but I could never stop for a long time.
Damn.
So I remember I had one instance where I cut myself a lot, and not too long after that, I was sent away.
And so did he look around and find this place?
I think my grandpa helped as well.
I was going to
Yeah.
ask, and then the bill was footed by
Grandpa.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Grandpa paid for, yeah.
And so you're there for how long?
I was at the wilderness program for 3 or 4 months,
Okay.
and I graduated. I did really well. I know there's like a lot of stuff going around, especially now, like with Paris Hilton. It was in that Utah, those schools, residential treatment centers,
Yeah.
and then they end up being very abusive.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I didn't know
Yeah.
that's where you're going with that.
Oh, yeah.
That
So-
happened to Paris Hilton?
yeah.
She was in a residential treatment center as a youth?
And she was like horrifically abused.
And what was going on at home for her?
I think she was just like a party animal, and her parents wanted to like chill her out.
Okay. So you're seeing stories of that happening in facilities like that, but
That was not my experience.
now you said tons of group therapy. Were you at that are you seeing value in it? Is it helping, or is it all just still like, fuck?
I, at that point, wasn't even really processing or like registering my life.
How do you have a sense of identity?
I was like very disassociated, and just like I didn't have a sense of identity.
Right.
I was like, especially in high school, like my freshman year, I was like constantly just trying to figure out where I belonged. As far as,
Which, by the way, most other high schoolers are doing that too, but
yeah,
they're coming from normalcy
yeah,
to school every day.
yeah.
You
I was
know?
coming from chaos and trying to figure out being a teenager and where I belonged and who I was, and so it took me years to really process like what I went through. So it didn't happen during that time when I was in wilderness program, but it was very refreshing to
get away from chaos.
get away from chaos. I had, a solid group of girls that I was with that I really loved. It was nice to finally start talking because I was just silenced my whole life. Just
Jesus.
yeah. So it was nice to finally start talking. And so I graduated there, and I went directly from there to a residential treatment center.
Also in Utah?
Also in Utah.
What towns are these two places in?
I can't remember where the wilderness program was, but the residential treatment center was in Hurricane, Utah.
Is that
like right outside? It's like maybe 30 minutes from Salt Lake.
okay?
Is it?
Okay, so on the eastern part of the
Or,
state.
I'm sorry, St. George is what
okay.
it's close to. So
And
I think it was just kind of more towards the center.
Oh, and so whose decision was it for you to go there upon graduation?
It was sort of always in the treatment plan, because they didn't want me to go from the wilderness program where you're away from everything, no outside contact, nothing, and then it would be kind of a culture shock to go right back home.
Yeah.
So it was always in the plan for me to go to a residential treatment center. It just happened that my dad got arrested while I was in the wilderness program.
Okay.
So just kind of
So 3 to 4. So if the wilderness thing was 3 to 4 months, and that happened while you were, then it really was two things happening at the same time, as you mentioned.
yeah.
So, do you find that out and then go to the residential, or do you go to
So they like pulled me aside
at the
out
wilderness
to the
thing?
wilderness program, and like my therapist was there, and they had me read like a letter that basically from my dad explaining that like he was arrested and that he wasn't getting out anytime soon.
Really?
Yeah.
And it was like sent from jail?
Yeah. And that's how I found out.
Wow. I mean, I didn't have a ton of correspondence over his time.
Yeah.
But things always felt slow, and maybe that's because the correspondence was very inconsistent.
Yeah.
But it seems like for him to hammer that out, get it in the mail, get it to you.
Yeah.
It seems quicker than
Yeah.
the experience that I had. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure, like, and it was so much was happening that, like, I'm not sure how far into my stay that he got arrested.
Oh, okay.
So it could have been, it ended up being a slow
Sure.
process. It just, yeah.
How the fuck? I mean, so you have this refreshing experience, and there's still chaos at home.
Yeah.
I mean, in one sense, again, in retrospect, I almost wonder if there wasn't like a sense of relief. I mean,
That he was.
that you're,
Yeah.
and I don't mean to say that it was horrible when you were there with him only because you were with him.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine he had some parenting skills that weren't super honed.
He had no parenting skills.
Yeah. Meaning
yeah.
like you're dealing with this, crazy relocation, and then the message from the ex stepdad on top of that.
Yeah.
And then here you are with, I don't know.
Yeah. And he was not a peach to live with. I mean, he was.
Okay.
He was pretty verbally abusive. Like he never put his hands on
Sure.
me or anything like that. But he was, it was constant yelling at me, just beating me down.
Jeez.
It was awful. Like I remember I got straight A's my first semester of freshman year. And I got a B in gym. This man spent an hour yelling at me about how fucked up it is that I can't manage to get an A in gym and I'm just lazy and I don't apply myself. And I'm like, but I got an A in math.
Right.
And I fucking suck at math. So what if I didn't run the mile, So it was just, and he was neglectful, so there were times where we didn't have much of anything to eat in the house for days at a time. And he's off doing God knows what, God knows where. He started running with crowds that he shouldn't have, and it put me in situations that I shouldn't have been in.
You recognize that as a 13, 14, 15-year-old?
No.
Oh.
No, I did not. I just thought.
But looking back, you're like, he shouldn't have been hanging out with those people.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
What did they look like? Like just.
Well, he had a studio on his land in New Mexico.
Uh-huh.
So he would produce music.
Yes.
And he was like, I'm going to produce this album. His name was like Daniel G. Or something.
I have a copy of that CD.
Do you? I got it. We got to listen to it. Yeah.
I mean, it's not amazing. Like I don't.
No, but
And you can tell that kid looks like trouble on the cover.
He ended up breaking into my house and like robbing my dad while I was home. And I had no fucking idea it was happening because I happened to be in my room blasting music. So I didn't hear that anybody was in my house stealing. And they stole my grandma's jewelry, which
Wow.
really upsets me to this day. Stole like money, drugs, a gun.
Your dad had a gun?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was just, I think he was just really running in crowds that he shouldn't have been.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So you read this letter. What the fuck does your brain, what happens?
I just disassociated.
All right back to
I did not allow myself to process anything and just kept it moving. And so I went to the residential treatment center and I tried at first. I tried to get through because there was like 4 or 5, maybe 6 levels that you start at the lowest level, it was called safety. Like you were treated like you're about to kill yourself. So there you got a staff with you at all times. You sleep in a special bedroom. And then from there you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I tried. I got up to level 4 and I was doing really well. And it felt like there was no end in sight. Like I just wanted to be away from the environment that I was in. Residential treatment center, it was so much different. It was 30 women living together. Girls my age, I guess.
Okay. But they didn't have
But they're all
above 18 mixed.
18 was the
Okay, right.
oldest. So I'm like living with 30 other girls who have crazy pasts just like I do, and they're going through shit just like I am. It was chaos.
I'm sure.
Yeah, like on my 16th birthday, someone tried to kill themselves.
Jesus.
I mean, it was always something. Like I was such a nervous wreck that I plucked with my fingers all my eyebrows out
What?
because I just needed
Release.
I needed some kind of release. You obviously don't have access to things to self-harm with there, so I just did the next best thing I could and just started tearing my hair out.
And that got you off of the level program?
No, it just made me stop giving a shit.
Oh.
So I just really I made some good friends, and they're one of the girls I'm still really close with today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And we just wreaked havoc, to be honest. We
for the staff?
For the staff, our goal was just to make the other girls that we were living with laugh, and we didn't really care if that got us in trouble. One of the biggest pastimes that we did there was crocheting. So one day we crocheted a thong and a bra, and we put it on over our clothes. We got in so much trouble for that. We stole bread from the kitchen. Have you ever seen the movie Superstar with Molly Shannon and Will Ferrell?
No.
What?
But I did work when I graduated,
Yeah.
I worked in a residential treatment center for 2 years.
Did you really?
I did, in Durango. I was part-time until and then I had full-time. And it was new kids come in, they're in jumpsuits.
Yeah.
Orange one piece because they're run risks.
Yeah.
And then level 1, 2, and 3. And it was a very, if you get a little bit of sass or what you want to check it, check that behavior, and then they could check it, and that they're right back on.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then it derails you from, and
Yeah.
each level has more privilege and more freedom and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And there were vans. We had a full size white and then an
had one of those.
Astro van.
Fuck yeah. I remember riding around town in one of those.
Yeah, and it was a trip, man. Every one of those kids was and then just here,
Ours was a little bit more lax than that, which is why I got away with so much, School was pretty much non-existent.
Mm.
There were teachers that would show up and we would do classes, but really it was just us fucking around.
Right. So,
And,
so wilderness is 3 to 4 months, and then how long is this thing?
About a year.
About a year. And then
I didn't end up graduating. They finally pulled me out because I just
Who?
wasn't giving. My grandpa.
Okay.
He was just I'm not paying for this anymore. She's not even trying.
And he knew that. He could.
Yeah.
Is somebody communicating to him?
Oh yeah, because our therapist, we each had an individual therapist. We would do group therapy. There was parents' weekend where our parents would come out. Once I got to a certain level, I was able to do home visits where I would go to Nashville to see Nancy, because that's where I was going to be living when I left.
That was decided ahead of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. So he finally pulled me out, and I went straight from there to living in Nashville with my Aunt Nancy.
And how old are her girls at that time?
Oh gosh. Young. I want to say her oldest was maybe in 3rd or 4th grade.
Oh, so you're the oldest.
Yeah.
And things were fine until they weren't there, right?
Yeah. It was just her kids were young.
Yeah.
So she had never dealt with a teenager before. You know, she didn't know much of my past and all the things that I had been through. So she didn't know what the hell to do with me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to follow rules, and I didn't want to go to school, and I didn't want to try in school. And I just kind of want to do whatever I wanted to do. So it didn't end up working out very well. We fought a lot, and we just truly ended up like resenting each other. And then I got in trouble. I fucking shoplifted. But in my defense, I shoplifted from like a department store, and fuck corporations. I would never steal from a small business.
Right.
You know, they have plenty of money.
Yeah.
They're not missing that shirt I stole.
Right.
Yeah, so that was like the straw. They were like, you have to go.
And
So I ended up moving back to St. Louis, and I
with
moved
mom's
in
parents, right?
with my mom's parents. Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's
we'll
fine.
take her.
We'll take her. And that worked out great because they were like, at this point, I was pretty much 18. And once I turned 18, there was not really, in my mind, you couldn't tell me shit. Like, I'm an adult now. Like,
Right.
fuck all y'all. And they didn't really give me, like, too many rules. They tried giving me a curfew, but I just figured out how to sneak in. So, like, it wasn't. And they didn't really enforce anything. But, like, they were my grandparents. They were done raising kids.
Right.
I mean, at this
Right.
point, they have grandchildren. Like, they never signed up to raise another child. So they were just like, yeah, you can sleep here. Just don't, get in trouble. Don't do anything too crazy,
Right.
basically.
And then at some point, were they like, okay, you need to...
Yeah, I moved in there, and with them, I was 17, almost 18, and then I moved out when I was 21.
Oh, so you were there for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. So you finished high school there?
Finished high school.
Got a job?
I got a job. Started working. I didn't go to college right away. I think I took about a year off.
Okay.
Just about a year, maybe possibly 2, but I think it was just a year. I started going back to school for education. I wanted to be a special education teacher. And then I really didn't enjoy it. Didn't enjoy the classroom setting. Didn't enjoy really anything.
So
just about it.
if you're with your mom's folks for 4 years, did you ever just point blank them and be like, what the fuck is this Australia shit? you know what I mean?
Yeah, we
Did you
definitely
get-
had conversations.
Okay.
But like they were kind of like, my mom's got her own history of trauma that
On their watch?
to a certain extent, but mostly from like, so my mom, her biological mom passed away when she was around 8.
Okay.
So my mom's biological mom, her name's Mary. When she passed away, her sister, who is Liz, my grandma, their sisters, she adopted like my mom and her brother. So I guess like technically my grandma Liz is like my great aunt. I just call her grandma because she
Your great aunt or your aunt?
Great aunt. Right?
So mom's sister adopts. No, okay.
So my
Your mom's
biological mom dies. Her sister takes in my mom. And
her older sister
her older sister
takes in her own siblings.
Yeah.
And cares for them. Okay, yeah. So that would be, you're right. That's your great aunt. But that's not who you moved in with, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Liz,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's got her biological dad was an alcoholic. He was abusive. He wasn't a good guy. And
So your mom's bio parents are out of the mix early.
because my mom's mom died, and then her dad just basically took off and wasn't around.
Jeez.
So she's got her own.
You're fucking doomed for generations. I mean,
yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, go ahead.
So she's got her own shit, and where were we?
You're 21.
Oh yeah.
You move. You get you finish high school. You get a job. Things were okay with them, and I mean, I think the circle back point was, you are listening to music at a super young age.
Yeah.
Radio, get the CD player, and then it's back in your life at what point I can't remember, but I imagine it's back again now as you're 21 and
and like as soon as I got like a good job, I mean good as in like making enough money to like put gas in my car and pay my car insurance, I was like buying tickets. I wanted to go to concerts. Like I just wanted to do anything like that I could. First concert I went to was Blue October.
I know that name, but I don't.
I'm sure you would know some of their music.
Okay, so how old are you? And who do you go with?
I just went with a friend.
Okay.
That also liked the band. I don't even think I was 21 yet. I think I was maybe like 19 or so.
But you're living with grandparents, and what venue is this show at?
The Pageant.
Oh.
And the Loop.
I love the Pageant.
Such a fun venue.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I would just like I'm the kind of person like I will go to any concert. I don't care. Dave Matthews, I try to see him every time he comes to St. Louis.
Okay.
He puts on such a good show.
Yes, he does.
So just like anything that I could get tickets to, I would just go.
Have you seen I'm trying to remember. So it's Jimmy Fallon, and he's got this game on his show where he like spins something and it lands on like a traditional song like row, row, row your boat. But then another thing spins and it lands on an artist.
Yeah, and
it's Key and Peele dude is the guest on the couch, and it's Jimmy's turn, and it lands on something like row, row, but it's Dave Matthews. He's trying to do all the like, well, I gotta say, Dave put out an album this past summer.
No shit.
Yeah, and I
know that.
I was pretty disappointed with it, for two reasons. One, because the album that he put out before that in 2018 called Come Tomorrow is maybe the best album he ever put out.
No shit.
It's so fucking good. You talk about no skip. I mean, it is, and it's like it's not all just, like Crash is great, but it's got a feel to it, and it deviates a little bit here and there, but it always kind of comes back to the core of what Crash is.
Yeah.
Come Tomorrow, he's hitting all kinds of different directions, and it's all working. And it's so when this one came out this summer, I was like, and then I like threw it on for a mow, and it was like every Dave record has parts of it where he's like, I really like women and vaginas. And it's like, we got it, Dave, back from we know. And this record, it's like he woke up the ghosts of all of those from all the records and made a record. Like every song, I'm like, ugh, dude, it literally feels like something's dripping. And I'm just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like,
cool it, Dave.
I'm not trying to hate on the player. Like, you go do you. But also, you're better than this. And that's now all of that on one listen because I haven't gone back. Yeah. So it might be better.
You might feel differently.
I might, but I was like, bro, cringe.
Not a good first impression.
But all in all, I mean, there's a lot of Dave's library that I love, and the video for Every Day is still one of my all-time favorite things on the planet. You know this video, right?
I don't.
Judah Friedlander. He's a very distinct kind of human. Like he is not small, and he's done some he's got some stand up out there, but I don't know. He's in the entertainment realm, so he's kind of a largish, funny shapen dude with long dark curly hair and big fucking lamb chops and a trucker's hat and ginormous glasses. Nice. He just looks like that's the poster child of Goofy. But this video, do you know this? You know the song "Every Day," right?
Dave Matthews.
Yeah.
Every Day. No.
Yes. All I want is.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah,
So the video starts,
Yeah.
and it's Judah Friedlander waking up in his bed, and I think to get dressed, he just puts his hat and glasses on. He's just in his clothes already, and he goes out into the world, and his whole entire day is trying to talk people into hugging him, and like, some people are like, oh, and they keep going. Some people get mad.
Yeah.
And then he like talks somebody into it, and then another person, and then you start seeing him like he's appearing in places, and people are like, oh, it's the hug guy.
Yeah.
And at one point, he walks onto the set of Dave and the band recording the song and hugs all the members, and then the video ends, and he's getting back in bed.
That's kind of cool.
And it's like,
it's poetic.
It's if only that person actually existed in the world, we might be doing better than we are. But great song, great video, love the message. Lover, 2019.
Yep.
I don't think that I got anything directly from you, but I sort of assumed that this isn't necessarily one of your favorites. Am I off on that? I mean, you called it amazing one time.
It is an amazing album. Like, I can definitely appreciate it, and but I don't know if I would put it in my top 5.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. I've already talked about why it's a favorite of mine. You need to calm down.
That song is amazing because it was the first time that Taylor really like said something about like social issues.
Sure. Yeah.
She really like,
Shade never made anybody less gay.
Mm-hmm.
She fucking kills it in that song.
Yeah,
Spitting bars. And it's like my historically music snob self would not appreciate the use of synthetic instrumentation. But the drums sound.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit if all of it is, because it fucking slaps.
It's a good song.
I mean, I've heard it probably 100 times, and I still am like, that's good shit right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's what do you call it? When you shift up a pitch in the part of Cornelia Street. I think maybe that's the hook that really, I love that song, and I've loved
Cornelia
it since.
Street that's a banger.
I mean,
I feel like that's an underrated banger on the album.
For sure. And I can't even, I don't know the lyrics well enough to say, here's what that's about. Yeah. But you can just feel it. Yeah. And also the refrain, I'll never walk Cornelia Street again. It's like, it's the similar kind of thing in Driver License. Yeah. Right. We had always talked about the day, and then, never again. Yeah. I love that record. I love, I think that, the level, like just, dude to woman, like she's a fascinating looking person. Oh yeah. She's beautiful and gorgeous in ways that, if you hit the magnifying glass in my Instagram, like ignore the top 2 rows. but it knows that I like that. And so
Yeah.
that it's out. People are making that,
Mm-hmm.
looking that way, so on and so forth. She's not that. But she is her own, again, from my perspective, like unique flavor of beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
I've never been a Bangs guy, so I don't like always sign off on like, why? Yeah, the whole 98.9 was banging, and then
Yeah. And then
ugh.
you added the bangs.
Yeah.
I love bangs. I think she looks great
Well,
with bangs.
Point being, I just there's a vibe to this album. I love the album artwork. I love the image of her on that one. I don't know. It's just, and again, it's like the first one that comes out when I'm aware.
Yeah.
It made me feel like I wasn't perpetually playing catch up.
Yeah. I think one of the more unique things about this album is that it's almost exclusively about being in love rather than breakup songs.
Oh.
So it's a totally different vibe. It's just
For
totally
sure.
different from start
For sure.
to finish. And then like, do you like Soon You'll Get Better? That tears me to my core every time.
I'd have to put it on to know which one we're talking about.
It's basically about her mom has struggled with cancer in
Oh.
the past, and that song is about her. And
Okay.
she's like even interviewed, like, I don't expect to like hear that song publicly a lot. Like, it's a special song. I don't expect me to, sing it.
I'm
I
sure
think
I
she
would-
has performed it, I think, once.
Oh wow. Okay.
Which is one more than I ever thought she would. But it's a really good song.
Well, love that record, and
So
it's in 2019. Reputation's in 2017, and I mentioned that I thought that Reputation was one of two, like, favorites of yours, and I think Folklore in 2020, I think is one of the other ones. Is that?
Yeah. I'm more of an Evermore girl.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Folklore blew my mind.
Crazy. She puts out both in the same year, like within 6
Oh,
months
yeah.
of each other. 16 tracks, 63 minutes.
And this is when she deviates from her 2-year plan, like pretty much entirely.
Okay.
Yeah.
When all the Kelsey stuff started making the rounds, a couple of high school friends, one's in LA and one's in Halifax, said this was like the time that when pandemic was happening, and it comes out, and they all with their kids and wives like enjoyed it together.
Yeah.
And so it has anyway, special place for them. What about for you?
I mean, the same. Because
You're already tuned in when Lover comes out. Like, you're a fan when Lover comes
I'm
out.
a fan when Lover comes out. I remember finding out about this album on Instagram, and like
That it's gonna come out, or that it's out.
It's fucking out. Like, cause she didn't.
Were you pissed?
No, I was
You
like,
didn't tell me.
I was so excited. And I remember my friend and we sat on my couch and we listened to it and cried the entire time.
Like on a home stereo situation.
No, I think we just used my Alexa and we just streamed it.
Okay.
And we just listened to this entire album and just sobbed.
First listen.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, are you like reading lyrics?
Oh, yeah.
On your phone? Well, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That tracks then. What is it? Why sadness? For both
She's
of you.
got a lot of sad songs on here.
Okay.
Exile. My Tears Ricochet.
You have talked about that one. Yes.
Yeah. And like, she's notorious. Her track 5s are normally very personal.
That's where Delicate hits. Track 5.
Yeah.
What's track 5 on Lover?
What is track 5 on Lover? The Archer, which doesn't surprise me because that one hits too. And what's also cool is that this is when she starts like storytelling about like things other than like her own life.
I think I did
Yeah.
read something about that.
Yeah. The last great American dynasty, the house that she's singing about, she really owns, and the story that she's telling is true. And like you can Google it.
Sure. What is
Yeah.
it about?
I can't remember exactly,
okay.
but like she this house like she bought it. The woman who owned it before was kind of crazy. She
Oh my
died
God,
her.
you have a freaking
Do I have a nug?
no, you have a reputation necklace.
Fucking
Quadruple rep. I love it. I'm sorry I cut you off.
So the Great American Dynasty is basically about this house that the history of the house before she owned it.
Oh, cool.
And so that one was really cool. What was the other one I was gonna bring up? Is it on here or is it Epiphany? Epiphany is about like that was cool because she was telling the story about her. I think the first verse is about her grandfather and how he was really like in the war, and then the second verse she's talking about COVID, so it's relatable.
Huh. Wow.
Betty is a whole story that connects with Cardigan.
Dude, that
And
what I feel like a cardigan underneath somebody's bag on the floor.
yeah, so it's
Fuck.
Cardigan.
I've seen that cardigan multiple
I have
times.
that cardigan. So I think it's August, Cardigan, and Betty are all connected in that they're a story being sung from the perspective of a different person.
Whoa.
So basically it's about a high school romance and he cheats on her. And so with like her friend or something.
No.
And so like if you're a hardcore Swiftie, like you're immediately making these parallels when you're going through this album. And you're figuring out like cuz she's telling a story.
Yeah.
And so she does that on purpose so we can figure it out.
So you have like all this knowledge and familiarity with this record. You have the experience of crying through your first listen with a friend, yet Evermore takes a bigger piece of your heart than Folklore,
I think so.
which is what, like we said, 6 months later, 15 tracks, 60 minutes.
Yeah.
I feel like now that I'm kind of tuned in, there was a lot of hype about the release of this for a few months, and then it came out, and I feel like it just.
Do you feel like it didn't get like enough?
I don't know, but what about for you?
For me, it was like iconic.
Okay.
Like that she dropped 2 albums so close together and then they were just absolute masterpieces.
Yeah, I remember. I'm pretty sure you called this one a masterpiece.
Yeah.
What sets it? I mean, so, but in Folklore, she's done this.
I feel like Folklore is where it was the first album that it was totally different from anything that she's ever done. And I feel like, and it was amazing. And then I feel like Evermore is just up a notch. It's like, okay, this was like, I'm putting this out. I'm getting you guys all used to this. And then I'm going to nail you with Evermore and you're just going to cry. You're just going to sob.
So, like, Folklore was maybe a stepping stone to, like, I got to get this out to
Folklore walked so Evermore could run.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah. She does more story time telling. No body, no crime.
Yes.
I mean, come on. The storyline in that's just fun to listen to.
You know, strangely, the imagery of the album artwork, the picture of her on this one is almost more appealing than Lover, because it's like, to me, this says, I'm totally content and confident in who I am, and I don't have to be anything special to feel good about myself or proud, or and just not just a regular old braid, and I got a warm jacket on, and I'm in the woods, and I mean it's beautiful to me.
I agree.
And it's like just a shot there. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
she's got some good features. Artists that she features, Bon Iver.
Yes, you know what I wanted to do
on both albums at that.
I wish I would have had it. I wish I would have allowed myself the time to get in and do this. But as you make your way through, like featuring is sprouting more and more and more. By the time we're to this, I'm like, it's easily double digits. The artists that she's had featured on her tracks across all of her records, and that's just vocalists. We're not talking about producers and anybody else that's come to the mix. So I like that she has relatively consistently been open to, you could see somebody with this level of stardom. Nope, all the tracks have got to be just me and my voice but nope,
not
she's
her.
which is
not at all. And she's the kind of person that if someone's helping her write a song and that person contributes, say, one line, she's still going to give that person credit.
Nice. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So this is definitely in your top 5.
Yeah.
Would you say top 3?
I don't know.
Jury's still out. Okay.
Not sure.
So
I can tell you my number 2.
Which is?
We haven't talked about it yet.
Okay. So I don't have printouts for anything moving forward. But from here we go to Midnights. 2022, which you can grab right over there if you want. And talk about, there was a lot of hype for this.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, big noise. Like,
she didn't promote Folklore or Evermore. She just simply dropped them on us.
Oh.
So she was promoting Midnights.
Okay.
So we knew we were getting it.
Okay.
Yeah.
2022, 13 tracks, 44 minutes. Like I said, big hype. Now it's 13 months old. So, in my opinion, long enough to warrant having a solid opinion.
Yeah.
What's yours?
This is like truly an elite album.
Okay.
I can't think of one song that I would skip through.
Sure.
Which is like, that's how I feel about Reputation. Like, I might, on all the other albums, there's probably a couple of songs I'll probably just, skip. Not this album.
Okay.
No, I love it.
Well, keep going.
I think she's definitely more influenced this album, I think, by Jack Antonoff, which is one of her longtime producers.
Okay.
He's also the lead singer of Bleachers. They're definitely one of my favorite bands ever. I got to see them a couple of years ago.
Nice. Where?
So good. The Factory. It's a relatively newer venue. It's basically just like the pageant. Like, even the setup is the same. It's just nicer, a little bit bigger, and it's in Chesterfield.
Okay.
So I saw them there, and we held up a sign that said, "Who the fuck is Jack Antonoff?" He saw it. It was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, it was cool. It was just a good experience. I loved it. So I think that, like, his vibe is very specific. Like, you can, at least I can, like, pick out, like, okay, I can tell this is Jack Antonoff produced. And that's the vibe that I get throughout this entire album.
Okay.
So to me, it's like the best of both worlds, like my favorite band and Taylor Swift.
Yeah. I've had a weird experience with it in that when it came out, I listened to it and made it all the way through, and nothing really grabbed me.
Are you serious?
But I'm driving. I'm not down here with headphones on, intentionally listening. I didn't dislike it.
Yeah.
But I just, for whatever reason, I pivoted and I didn't dive back into that second listen right away. And my kids were like a couple days or maybe a week went by before the opportunity arose where we're driving and my daughter asked if I had listened yet. Because I think they went to their mom's and it came out.
Yeah.
Life just got in the way. And I was like, oh, yeah, I did. Did you? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, that was unenthusiastic. She's like, yeah, I just don't know. And I was like, huh. But I mean, she's 12.
It's not as like poppy.
Right.
It doesn't have that poppy vibe.
So again, not intentionally, but that's what that means something that we sort of had a similar. And then a handful of weeks went by, maybe a couple months, and I was like, hey, I gotta get back in there.
Yeah. And
I was like, oh shit, this is good.
Yeah.
And then I didn't listen again for a handful of weeks, and by the time I was like, I know shit on this album that I shouldn't know with only 2 full lists. Like,
yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah.
It was like, opinionless. Oh, I like this. And
this is dope.
somehow it's been, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's good. I'm still not qualified to have a fortified opinion. Like I still owe it 1 or 2 more.
Yeah.
But it feels like when you're listening to it or when you hold that in it, all of it feels valuable. Like it's weird. Like I'm not exactly sure what that is or why that is. And then there's the whole, I have another copy of that in the other room with a different back. Because I guess if you bought...
she dropped,
how many? Was it 12?
I'm not sure.
If you get them all and put them together, it makes a clock, right?
Yeah.
That's I can tell that by looking at 2 of them.
Yeah.
Have you read anything or seen anything about why she did that?
I haven't.
I mean, the musical content is the same on all of the. It's just different album artwork, right?
Yeah, and I believe like the actual album itself might be a different color.
The piece of vinyl, or okay, interesting. So how many listens would you say you've given? Dozen,
if not more.
More. And you haven't necessarily given it unfair treatment over other albums of hers. I mean, you've listened to the rest of her stuff enough to have a grounded, solid opinion.
Yeah.
And so you're saying, what did you call it?
An elite.
Elite.
Yeah.
If that's true, I mean, what?
Where does she go from here?
Right. And I'm actually asking you, like, how do you out elite yourself?
I don't know.
Okay.
She'll do it. I have absolute faith.
So Taylor's versions, we talked a little bit about the why.
Yeah.
And we talked about Fearless and Red in 21 and then Speak Now in 1989 this year. She's not going to do them all, though, right? Because her initial label relationship ended at some point, and then she was...
Lover was her first album that she...
So will she do all the ones prior to Lover?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's got 2 more that she needs to release, Reputation and her debut.
And is she for sure going to do those?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We don't know timeline, though?
We don't know timeline.
Okay.
We know that she's messing with us right now.
Say more.
She definitely hides Easter eggs in like her performances, her music videos, tweets, public appearances.
She tweets?
Occasionally, yeah.
Okay. And do you think it's a person or you think it's her?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I know she's more into like Tumblr.
I thought that
She'll
thing
interact with her fans on
quit existing.
As far as I know, it's still around. I'm not on it. But she like interacts with her fans on there.
Interesting.
And what were we saying?
Oh, is that she was messing with us?
Oh,
Easter
yeah, so
eggs.
she's messing with us. We all really want reputation. And she's been dropping little hints here and there and people go crazy. I mean, they will take one thing and they will make a math equation and then they will say, okay, this is the date that this album is going to
you've
drop.
done it to me twice. If you Google Taylor Allison Swift, I don't even remember what the topic was, but I was like, what is that? And then the other day, with the picture of the
Empire State Building.
And it had a black heart?
A black heart, and it said, there will be no hesitation. What is it?
No exception, no hesitation.
Let me look it up.
But you're sitting there saying that people go crazy.
The Swifties.
Well, I know,
Yeah.
but it's when you say it, when you're saying these things, it sounds like you're pointing at, but it includes you, I think, to an extent, right?
100%.
I mean,
because I'm on Taylor Swift Facebook pages, subreddits.
how many times a day do you think that you think about her?
A lot.
That's a perfect answer.
Because I'll be like, if I'm bored, I'll sing a Taylor Swift song in my head. Or like if I'm sitting at work and we're doing a root canal and I'm bored, I'm like, wouldn't it be so cool if like Taylor Swift walked into my office right now and she needed a root canal? And I just like go through the scenario of like what it would be like treating a superstar.
Again, the dude that was on the last episode had a funny situation where an artist that he really, really, really loves and admires, like he drove to, all the way to New York one time and caught him at the bar and was like, hey, and the guy, he was like, thanks. And and he turned around and went home, and then there was a festival being put on locally, and a person, he was like, hey, that artist, we need somebody to go get him from the airport and bring him to the festival, and then when it's over, give him, do you want to do it? And he's like,
fuck yeah.
Yeah, I want it. And so I was talking to him about, there's on one hand, like artists, I don't think ever get tired of hearing appreciation, like genuine, hey, your whole career has meant the world to me, or
Yeah.
I really loved 1989, or I really love whatever. As long as it's, you deliver the admiration and then you keep going
Keep it
with
moving,
your
yeah.
life, and they can keep, like, I think it genuinely feels good.
Yeah.
The other side of that coin is like, if I were to, need to give Taylor Swift a ride to the airport or whatever, like, there's part of the artist, I think, that wants to have normal conversation, human to human, and not like, I don't think that I would be able to not fanboy out. And so like,
I'd melt. I would melt. I don't know what I would do. I would just melt.
I was going to give Taylor Swift a root canal, and then I melted
And then
into
I
a puddle on the floor.
Can we take a potty break?
Yeah, let's do it. All right. So, Reputation and self-titled debut still have yet to be dropped in Taylor's version. And there's tweaks to musical pieces, there's tweaks to lyrics occasionally, and then songs that you didn't get on the first.
Yeah.
So it's, almost like
It's
a
like
new album.
yeah.
Right. And she's toying with us, Easter eggs. Did you find the Empire State Building thing?
Oh yeah. And then, and on top of that, she'll like have her mom and her publicist like wear like a couple of shows she had them wearing all black with like black manicures, and like it was just like we were all like, you're up to something, like, 'cause she'll do that, and then sometimes we're right.
Now, when are you including people you know in real life and then people on the internet as well?
I think mostly just people on the internet.
People on the internet. That's fair.
I do have a friend that is like a super Swiftie, and she enjoys like finding the Easter eggs and stuff. So we'll send each other
Nice.
stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about Taylor's version stuff. We talked about relationships. We talked a little bit about the spotlight and paparazzi and even established media. And, just, did you say you think she likes it? I mean, having to live the way that she lives?
I don't know if she necessarily enjoys that part, but I do think she enjoys doing what she loves so much that she's willing to deal with it.
Okay. Interesting. So how long would you guess? So we'll get Reputation and Self-Titled and probably, she keeps putting out new stuff. How long do you think she puts out new content?
I don't know.
What'd she say?
That's a
She's
good question.
34?
She's 34.
Now let's...
Hopefully she has another good 10
Damn.
in her.
I mean, of course she could. Now let's say that you're spot on with that. And so you get the other 2 TVs and then 10 more, and she decides that's it right there. That's perfect. I'm going to be done. What else would you envision her doing? I mean, she's got that creative thing.
Yeah.
And
that's never going to go away.
And the talent, so other endeavors, I would imagine.
Yeah, I can see her writing for other artists.
Okay.
So she'll do that occasionally. I don't know. In a perfect world, I think she would get married and settle down, have a family,
interesting.
and be okay with that. But I think she's just too into her career right now.
Sure.
Which is totally fine.
Yeah.
I love it.
Super young.
Yeah.
I mean,
she does not have to. She doesn't have to get married or have children.
Right.
But I don't even know if she wants
to
have children.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So at some point in our correspondence, you did throw out a few other non-Taylor records.
Yeah.
You mentioned one of them already, which was it Bleachers?
Bleachers.
Strange Desire.
Strange Desire.
2014. How did you discover that one?
I was listening to, maybe it was Spotify. And I think I just had a random playlist on the things that similar, I think, to Taylor Swift.
Okay.
And because he frequently produces for her, one of his songs came up from that album.
Okay.
And I was like, this is a really good song. This is I like this in my ears. And so I went back and I would just listen to that one song. And then I was like, wait, what am I doing? Let me listen to this whole album. And it was really good. And so I started listening to all his other albums, and it was just fell into down the rabbit hole.
Nice.
Of Bleachers. Yeah.
So if that one's out in 2014, when do you think it crossed paths with you?
Honestly, probably only 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. Also on the list was Ceremonials by Florence and the Machine from 2011. Yeah. I don't know either of these two artists. I know your final one, but so tell me about these cats and your discovery of that record.
Florence and the Machine. How did I discover her? I'm actually not sure, but I was obsessed with her. I think I found her when I was maybe 20.
Okay.
And
right back in that Liz era.
And I think I might have found her through Pandora.
Okay.
And fell in love with her Ceremonials album. And I actually ended up getting a tattoo from one of my favorite songs that she sings. It's called Shake It Out.
Okay.
It's on that album. And I actually met her as well.
Really? Mm-hmm. Where?
She performed at the Peabody.
Okay. Yeah.
And we got there really early. We found her tour bus, and we just stood outside it like a few other people. And I was nothing was, she wasn't coming out. And so I turned around and I started walking back towards the car and I passed her.
Double take?
I didn't realize that I was looking at her.
Yeah.
Because she's got a beautiful, strong, amazing voice, but she's tiny.
Oh.
So I just wasn't expecting that. So I just walked right past her. And I turned around and my boyfriend at the time was like, "That's her." And I was like, "What?" So I like turn around, I run back over to where all the other people are. And she took pictures with us. She didn't sign anything, which I was kind of bummed about. But
my son is constantly, he goes to KU basketball camp and there's a day where you can go have, and he wants to let everything, he gets tons of shit signed, mostly by people like that aren't,
famous.
They're not like on the team. I mean, they're on a J whatever. And I'm like, I don't know how to tell you this, but I personally don't have a way to assign value to signed merch.
Yeah.
Like if I had, I don't know, let's say that was autographed by Taylor, that copy of Midnight's. I would think it was cool and I would show it off and tell people about it. But I'm not going to like begin collecting autographed things.
Yeah.
Does that?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know that I would, even if I put it on eBay and somebody was like, "I'll give you $5,000 for that," then I don't have it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
I wanted her autograph because I wanted it tattooed on me.
And you could there.
Yeah.
Give me this.
Exactly.
Right.
But I got a picture with her, and that was fine with me.
Yeah.
And
Do you still have it?
I still have
nice.
it. That was an amazing experience.
I mean, that I would, if I enjoyed that as much as it sounds like you did, I would consider like, printing that and framing it.
Oh, yeah.
And having it, I don't know, on a wall somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was, I got totally.
Me and Florence.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I got totally shy around her. Like, didn't know what to say. It was awkward. And I, when I went to take the picture, as a female, I just, instinctively kind of put my arm around her, waist.
Yeah.
And I could tell she was not down for that.
Oh.
Which was super embarrassing.
Yeah.
But, I definitely respected her. So I was just it was weird, but it was actually turned out to be a cute picture.
Cool.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I would do the same.
Yeah.
I know this is not true for everybody.
Yeah.
But I like your, love handle right above your hip.
Yeah.
Just for the whatever it takes.
Yeah.
That. I know, again, some people will be like, no, I don't even want your coat to touch my coat.
Yeah.
But that if you're, otherwise it looks, like you don't
force.
like each. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's fun though. And then 2013 Pure Heroin, Lord.
Yeah.
Was your last. And that's got Royals on it, which is the only track I know from that.
Oh, that's a good album.
I mean, it feels that tune it's got a vibe to it that suggests that it can't just be a one-off from the collection of songs with which it was published.
Yeah.
Because there's just a whole lot of cool about it,
She's I like that she's edgy and cool, and she makes a little bit, at the time, was making music that was just a little bit more dark.
Okay.
And twisty.
Not so much anymore?
Her last album was a lot more uplifting.
Okay.
And I think she's talked about it being from just being in a better headspace.
Oh, okay.
So,
right on.
Can't hate on that.
No, not at all. The last thing I had, first album you fell in love with, it had to be one of those 5 or 6 that your dad got you, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then did we talk about your first concert? We talked about at least one concert.
We talked about one concert. I guess technically my first concert was when I was when I was 3 or 4 when my dad took me to, what was it, Fish?
Yeah, that I was at.
Yeah.
Where you were eating Doritos and you got to Mike Gordon.
Watching people pass bongs.
Mike Gordon gave you a t-shirt. You got to meet Mike Gordon.
He patted me on the back.
There you go.
Yeah.
Were you like, hey,
I was just like, I didn't fucking know.
Right, right. But I mean, first show of your choosing.
Yeah. I think that was Blue October.
There you go. There we did talk
yeah.
about it. Okay. 5 funny finishers, and we'll wrap.
Okay.
So these are just goofy.
Okay.
Like, you're given the resources to cross off your top 3 bucket list items.
Okay.
So whatever those 3 things are, somebody gives you all that you need to do to go do them. What are you doing first?
I would go to Thailand, and I would go to probably in like an elephant sanctuary. And they have them where that you can like bathe with them,
Whoa.
wash them, feed them, bond with them. I would do that.
Elephants
They're just my favorite animal.
and always have been?
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much.
And Thailand because they're there and that thing is
Asian
there?
elephants are there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You're given the ability to visit your past self at any age of your choosing. What age are you choosing, and what are you saying?
Fuck. That's a hard one. I'd probably go back to my 13-year-old self because I
Okay.
think that's when I would need some words of wisdom the most.
Is that
Is that
New
time.
Mexico?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's yeah. And
that over 5 or 6 from the beginning of being ignored and being abused and all these.
Yeah.
You're going 13.
Going 13.
The woman stuff is
Yeah,
probably.
and I think I was very much aware that like I was sad, and I didn't know why. I just knew that I was sad, and I knew I didn't want to be alive, and so I would definitely just go back and tell myself just to keep going, don't give up, keep going. It's gonna get better.
I'm so glad you did.
Yeah.
I mean, without that visit.
Yeah.
So did you wind up did your cycle come when you were with Dad? And so were you?
No, it came before.
Okay, so Mom was around for at least that.
Yeah.
Okay.
She didn't explain it to me. She gave me a book, and I read that, and that's how I taught myself like what was happening to my body.
You had nobody gave you any kind. I mean, sure, your peers, somebody had to.
Yeah,
this
and
is
then
a
I
thing.
think we had like a general like health class.
Right.
In school, but yeah, like as far as anything else, like I just read that in a book that I was given.
Okay. You're on your own for a
You're
lot
on
of
your
shit, it turns out.
Alexa, play "You're on Your Own, Kid" by Taylor Swift.
You get to have lunch with anyone dead or alive. Who are you choosing and why?
Ooh. Besides Taylor Swift?
She's of course included.
Okay, well then I kind of would feel like I would pick her.
Okay. I mean, and then you don't need to do the why because I mean,
Yeah.
we're here doing this.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions.
Complete this for me, please.
Okay.
The world would become an immediately better place in which to live, if only.
People were kinder.
Amen. Do you remember the show Fear Factor?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember who the host was?
Is it Joe?
Joe Rogan?
Yeah, Joe Rogan.
So I never, I have a couple pockets where I was just kind of off the TV grid, just circumstantially. It wasn't like, I don't watch TV. It was just,
Yeah.
there's a television set, but nobody's paying for cable, and
Yeah.
the antenna gets a fucking scrambled Cheyenne,
Yeah.
Wyoming channel. So I didn't ever really, I would see I walk in the room and it's on and I know what it is.
Yeah.
But
that's it.
yeah. So what would be the absolute worst fear factor for you?
Any kind of spider, creepy, crawly thing on me, I would lose my mind.
Yeah. And
It just wouldn't even be worth it.
I think perhaps we're speaking the same way, like one that would set me up. But in these situations, it's like, here's 420, dumped on you while you lay in a fucking.
I just think I would absolutely have a mental breakdown.
Have you seen Kill Bill?
No.
Really?
That's a long movie, isn't it?
Well, it's 2 parts.
Yeah. Same.
So it's, I mean, it's not for everybody, but it's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uma Thurman.
Yeah.
Is just the fucking badassest of badasses in this role. God, is her name Beatrix Kiddo? I think it's Beatrix Kiddo. Anyway, and she goes through a fuck ton of stuff. And one of them, just when you think she's gonna get an edge, somebody chloroforms her.
Nice.
And then buries her alive.
Oh shit, that is the worst thing I could possibly fucking imagine.
So it turns out, because she's the badass that she is, she comes out the other side of the situation. But that second when you wake up and realize, I mean, if my heart and my brain are going to have a 50-yard dash to see who's exploding first, but they're both going to explode.
I don't think my brain, I can't even compute.
Dude. I mean, and then then there's like 6 foot of soil coming in through the, bro. Ugh.
I think the ocean scares me a lot.
I am terrified. I
will not catch me on a cruise.
Oh, fuck no. Mm-mm. No way.
I know too much.
Yeah. I watched Jaws too young.
Same.
And it was over. It's been
had no guidance.
Yeah.
So they were like, yeah, you can watch Jaws.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And I mean, I was taking my cousin to the airport today, and, she's in the Pacific Northwest now, but, has been in Florida almost all of her. And like, since she's like, I fucking hate Florida. Mm-hmm. I was like, I don't like the beach. I don't like the sand,
hate the sand.
Right? Yeah. And it's like,
it's a sensory thing. I just don't like it.
I don't either. I don't want to have dirty feet. I don't want to be swimming where I can't see and there's maybe danger.
But you can't see it even if it is coming.
Yeah. I had somebody who actually, he did episode 12. He won a Super Bowl with the Saints, and prior to that played for 2 seasons in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. And he's one of these guys, I know a few of these guys, that like every year the big trip is deep sea fishing.
Yeah.
And so he'll post a reel on Instagram where you can see his foot just skimming over the water, and you see the edge of the boat that he's sitting, and they're 80 miles out. Gosh. And I am like, that's 79 and a half miles too far. Like,
agree.
No one's coming.
No.
If something happens, that's where you're going to die.
Were you following the implosion of the submarine?
How could you not?
I was glued.
I was like, I can't.
I was like doing.
All I could think about is is being one of those people, and you're about. I mean, the most. And so again, absolute catatonic insanity.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the oxygen and the pressure is going to do. I'm going to, like, everybody else is going to be like, kill that guy. Yeah. First order of business, kill that guy.
Same.
But you're glued to it.
But you can't look away.
I didn't want to look in that direction at all. Like, every time I was like, quit showing me that, because it fucking freaks me out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was the last one. Any go-to bands or songs that if you hear them, you're like, turn that off or I'm leaving the room?
Hoobastank.
I know that name, but I don't know anything by them. Are they like EMD? What are they?
No, they sing that one song, "The Reason." I can't. I'll have you listen. It's the worst song in existence.
All right. Thank you so much.
Of course, that was fun.
I'm glad you said that. This is all just an idea that I'm kind of vomiting as we sit here.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if we have missed anything that you wanted to talk about, or if, I mean, I know I talk too much, but I just hope that
you
got to say your thing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It was
Cool.
fun.
Well, I appreciate you being here.
Of course.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Peace out.
Bye.
That was good. That was fun.